Season contest here between the Arroyo Seco Saints and the SoCal Catch. Now, Anthony, of course, we're in the final week of the season here, and for the Saints and the Catch, both of these teams now eliminated from the postseason race. It's still a week of baseball to be played, and obviously a lot of things to work on. So, Anthony, what do you expect to see in this series?
Well, I expect to see the Saints play this one hard, despite what you said about the standings, because, as you said, both these teams eliminated. Nobody wants to be in the cellar, no matter, what, whether it's, summer ball, whether it's, in their, respective colleges that they're playing for. Every team, wants to do the best they can, and these guys are going to finish out this season as strong as possible.
The Saints tonight, Reed Osborne on the hill. Osborne started last Tuesday's game, and a guy who's worked in the bullpen mostly this season moved out here into the starting rotation, and now making his second start of the season. His numbers on the year, 20.1, 20 in the third innings pitched with a 4.87 ERA, and 22 strikeouts in those 20 and third innings. Good numbers for him mostly on the season. He's on the bump for the Saints tonight. Anthony, give us the lineup for the SoCal Catch.
Yeah, so leading it off today for the SoCal Catch, it is going to be third baseman Skylar De Los Reyes, and then batting in the 2 spot is going to be Christian Franklin. Batting third is going to be first baseman Jacob Rogers, and then in the cleanup spot is Jake Boone. Batting number 5 is going to be Grant Robbins, and at the number 6 spot, Wasey Crenshaw. Batting 7th is Jacob Namath, and batting in 8th is Dalen Miley, and rounding out this lineup for the SoCal Catch is Ryan Smooth.
And of course, absent from the lineup tonight, the prolific slugger Daniel Jung, the La Mirada product from Notre Dame, who's put up great numbers for the Catch all season long. We'll probably see him in tomorrow's game, but getting a day off from the lineup today. For the outfield in the Saints, Dalton Nay out there in left field, in center field, Cameron Briggs, we've seen him all over the place this season, including on the mound. He's out there in center. Right field, Tristan Peterson. And around the horn for the Saints, you've got Colin Shepard out there at third base, Angelo Armenta out there at short. You see him at the edge of your screen. Second base, Gabe Chavez, of course, the usual, getting a start tonight at second, and Cooper Williams out there at first, and Nick Lacayo, the Michigan State product. You see him right on the edge of the grass out there, headed back to the back of the plate. He'll be behind the plate tonight as we are set for baseball at about 6:05 p.m. Correction, 6:09 p.m. Great time. We are underway. As Lacayo looks in, Reed Osborne looks in. First pitch ready, here we go. And the count now 1-0. So, Anthony, of course, you mentioned it, these two teams right now at the bottom of the standings for the CCL. But, of course, 3 games still left to be played here in the summer, and an opportunity to really end the season on a high note and go back to their college programs with a positive feeling. As that ball lifted out there in the left field, Nay coming in, then going back there, reaching up and making the catch for the first out of the inning.
Yeah, it's been kind of an interesting season head-to-head between these two teams, because I feel like even if there's been, lopsided games between the Saints and their opponents, sometimes, it's gone either way. One day, like we saw against the Academy Barons, there was a game where the Saints won by, I believe it was 9 or 10 runs, and then 2 days later it was the opposite. Well, with these two teams, every single game they've played against each other so far has been a 1-run game, regardless of who's won the game.
Of course, I think back to that game earlier this season, on a walk-off home run for the Catch. But, of course, the Saints have played a lot of close games this season. First pitch there, missing just low. But, yeah, of course, it's the ability to be able to bounce back. Of course, the Saints coming off a tough game on on Saturday afternoon, losing by 11-0. Had 2 days to recover as that pitch comes in there for a strike. A lot of that, of course, depends just on, you bring out a new pitcher, different game, their momentum usually doesn't carry from one day over to the next. And when you have a couple days off, a lot of times that game just thrown back into the wayside as that pitch comes over there for a strike. And Osborne ahead in the count now, 1-2.
One of the interesting things I've noticed with the SoCal Catch, this is just an observation from one of the games this season that we've called against them in La Mirada, where in the 8th inning of a close game, they made 5, I believe, defensive substitutions in the 8th inning of that game. Really kind of turned over the lineup more or less late in the game, regardless of how close it was. So you talked about Daniel Jung not being in the lineup tonight. It's always possible we see him come in the game later on, and it's always possible that a lot of different guys that we didn't see in the game end up in this one, and that the lineup ends up looking an awful lot different than it did at the beginning.
Franklin ready for the pitch. 1-2 on the way from Osborne. Here it comes. That ball lifted shallow in foul territory. Cooper Williams over, reaching up and making the catch. So 2 down, 2 up, 2 down now. As Jacob Rogers steps in. Rogers on the season, 296 average with a home run, 17 RBIs. We mentioned Jung earlier, and of course his numbers are probably the most impressive on the SoCal Catch on the SoCal Catch roster, excuse me. But Rogers, of course, has got quite the numbers himself. 296 is the second highest average on the team. That pitch misses away. 17 RBIs, one of the team leaders. But he steps into the situation now, nobody on. And of course, a good start here for Osborne, retiring the first 2. 1 ball, no strikes. As Osborne sets and delivers the pitch. That ball fouled back. And of course, the key to success for pretty much any pitcher is being able to throw strikes and keep hitters off balance. And of course, Osborne, we mentioned earlier, 22 strikeouts and now 21 in the 21 innings. So obviously the stuff has been there, able to get more than a strikeout per inning. The key for him is limiting the walks. That pitch misses away, ball 2. And of course, working a little bit there on the breaking ball. It's of course a balance for him. He throws a fastball and some off-speed stuff, but of course for any pitcher you got to be able to throw both of them over the plate and for strikes to be able to be successful. The 2-1 misses away. 3-1 the count now.
Earlier this month, you and the rest of the team, they went and made their one big trip up north to Healdsburg, and that's what the SoCal Catch are just coming off of, their weekend series out in Healdsburg.
And that's a tough series for anybody. Healdsburg is a great team, one of the top teams in the league, second place. And I'm looking right at their number right now, 35-8 overall this season. That's not just CCL play, that's playing teams from across the state of California in various different summer leagues, but 35 wins is tops for any team in the league so far. Full count on the way, 3-2. Ooh, good pitch, just missing low. That pitch was actually right there by the knees, just dipping a little bit below the zone. And so Rogers works a walk, first man on for the catch, and now Jake Boone, the shortstop, comes up to the plate. Boone, 187 on the season, home run, 1 home run and 10 RBIs. And for Boone, looking to keep this inning going. And as I mentioned, Osborne with the walk, he's got 14 walks coming into today's game. That gives him 15 now on the season. First pitch on the way to Boone. Fastball missing up high, ball 1.
Going back to that Healdsburg series, just you can probably speak to this better than I can because I wasn't there, but this was just looking at the stats throughout the season for them. It appears it's a notorious hitter's ballpark based on the just drastic change in numbers from them to the rest of the CCL when it comes to things like home runs. Is that the case?
It certainly is. I mean, if you go out to Healdsburg, and we've mentioned this on the broadcast before, where, of course, the dimensions of our field, one of the more unique parks in the league, 374 down the line and left, whereas in Healdsburg, it's about 314.
Wow.
So you're talking about a 60-foot difference, and a lot of home runs get hit out to that short porch, and it's right there on the road. There's a neighborhood right behind the field, and people's homes and car windows get shattered all the time out there. That ball's fouled to the right side. And so that's one of the things that certainly helps the Healdsburg Packers, Prune Packers, with their ability to drive the ball out of the park and score a lot of runs. And right now they're second in the CCL, and of course for SoCal, it's a tough series coming back from that to be able to bounce back. You get about a day off. That's, of course, the life of baseball, traveling hundreds of miles coming back, and then, of course, you play another game on the road. They'll be back home tomorrow to take on the Saints for the second game of this series. That pitch misses up high and evens the count now 2-2.
And I think doubly brutal in this situation, the catcher coming back empty-handed. They got swept in a 3-game series there. I mean, one game that was relatively close, but in general, not a very pretty series. 3-21, worst loss, 0-11, and then last game out, just a few days ago, 4-3. They ended up dropping that one to the Healdsburg.
And
Grid
you know what?
Packers.
It's almost like those games are tougher to lose than the games you lose by 11 runs.
Yeah.
So both teams in a very similar position right now where you're trying to bounce back from a loss. And that's unfortunately been a recurring theme so far this summer. But, you know, for the Saints, when you lose a game by 11 runs, sometimes that doesn't sting as much as when you lose it by a run or you give up a home run in the 9th inning.
Sure.
Or a game where you had the lead. That bitch, a curveball dropping in there, strike 3 called. So no runs, no hits, and a man left with the walk. We'll be going to the bottom of the first here, a scoreless game in Pasadena. You're listening to the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network. Welcome back here to Pasadena. Saints and the catch. Bottom of the first inning, and here we go, the lineup for the Arroyo Seco Saints. Anthony, will you go ahead and give it to us?
So Cameron Briggs is going to be leading off here in a moment for the Arroyo Seco Saints. You see him directly in front of us here there, number 6. Colin Shepard is going to be batting second and playing third. Nick Lacayo behind the plate today is batting in the 3rd spot. Then Cooper Williams in the cleanup spot playing first today. Tristan Peterson is going to be batting number 5. Then it's Angelo Armenta batting 6th. Marco Martinez is going to be the DH for the Arroyo Seco Saints today, batting in 7th. Then 8th is Dalton Ney. And rounding out the lineup for the Saints today is second baseman Gabe Chavez.
That first pitch there missing for a ball, and so now Briggs ahead in the count 1-0. That pitch just inside ball 2. On the defensive side, going around the horn, we'll start in the outfield and left field, Wasey Crenshaw. Center field, Grant Robbins. And right field, Dalen Miley. The outfield for the catch, the 2-0 on the way. Briggs check swing, but that's going to be a called strike. In the infield, third base, that's Skylar De Los Reyes. Shortstop, Jake Boone. We saw him strike out to end the top of the first inning. 2-1 on the way. That pitch fouled back, and the bat flying out towards the camera. If anybody's got 3D vision at home, that would have been an interesting little shot there.
Yeah.
Second base for the catch, Christian Franklin. First base is Jacob Rogers. We mentioned him in the top half of the first inning. He reached with a walk. Behind the plate is Ryan Smoot, number 26. You see him there in front of the umpire. So 2 balls, 2 strikes to count to Cameron Briggs, who's batting leadoff today. Briggs with a .262 average coming into play today. And a 2-2 count on the way. It's a curveball fouled out of play.
I think it's worth noting it was 95 degrees today at first pitch for this ball game, and both teams are wearing their darkest uniforms that they've got. So
it feels like 105.
Yeah.
And you know what? 95, it's at 6:10 p.m. So
Yeah.
you can imagine how hot it was this afternoon
Yep.
during the warm-ups and batting practice. That ball pulled in the hole and in the left field. There's a base hit. Cameron Briggs leading things off here for the Saints with a single. Bringing up now Colin Shepard. Shepard, the third baseman out of Miami of Ohio, batting .234 here on the season. And Briggs, of course, Shepard getting a lot of playing time now at third base. We saw him play all over the infield earlier at parts of this season. With the departure of Alex Laforestier earlier in the year, Shepard pretty much winning that third base spot outright and has definitely played well at times. Certainly with the bat, we've loved his offensive production, even if his average doesn't suggest a lot of success. He's been one of the top hitters on the team so far this season. Very excited to see what he's able to do with Miami of Ohio next year as that first pitch misses just outside for ball 1.
Yeah, it definitely feels like, despite, like you said, that .234 batting average, he feels like a guy who's had a very productive season here in Pasadena. And I think we can really speak to that in times where he's come up big and in situations, you know, situational hitting has kind of been the name of the game for him this season. We've seen him at the top of the lineup. We've seen him at the bottom of the lineup. And whatever the case, he has really delivered at times when they've needed it.
Well, you know, he's someone who's usually good for about a hit or two per game. Even if he's going to get it in about 4 or 5 at-bats, you know, he's definitely somebody who's going to be able to work counts, get hits. Right now, he's in a 2-0 count. Definitely seeing pitches as Briggs had a good at-bat to lead off. So the 2-0 misses away, ball 3, and now a 3-0 count. Anthony, this early in the game with a 3-0 count, do you think he's got the green light here?
You know, I could see it, but Colin Shepard, we know the kind of patient, smart batter he is, and I get the feeling he's probably not swinging at a 3-0 pitch.
3-0 on the way. That pitch is over for a strike, not swinging at that. You feel like at the first inning of the game, second batter, you're probably not swinging on a 3-0. And we've talked about this season, the Saints are actually a very patient team, usually making the pitcher work, try and throw a strike, and then working from there. So a 3-1 count now as Briggs dives back in safely. Got a man on first, nobody out here. As another throw over to first, Briggs dives back in again. A few tosses over to first base now. And you got to think that they're definitely trying to pay attention to the runners. This time's called. So 3-1 the count.
Yeah, one area where Colin Shepard has really come up big this year. We talked about how his spot in the lineup kind of fluctuates. Some days he's batting at the top.
That ball lined out there in the right center field is going to get down for a base hit. Briggs rounding all the way. As Shepard is as well, the throw is cut off, and Colin Shepard picking up a double. And now the Saints set up with runners at second and third, nobody out, and Nick Lacayo coming up to the plate.
I'm just going to add with Colin Shepard, as sometimes we see him bat leadoff, and today, I mean, he's batting number 2. And then there are other times this season where we see him batting 8th or 9th, and that has come up huge for the Saints at times, just because, in theory, you know, you're not seeing your best hitters typically batting 8th or 9th in the lineup, and he's come up big in those situations where, you know, the pitcher for the other team ideally is hoping for a guy that's an easier out in those situations when they get to the bottom of the lineup. But Colin Shepard, you know, comes up, he takes walks sometimes, he gets these hits and really makes these guys work harder than I bet they're expecting to against somebody batting toward the bottom of the order.
That's a great point. This time's called there. That's a great point. When you have somebody, I mean, that's the key to any lineup, of course, is not having somebody who's an easy out down there at the bottom. And we've seen Dalton Nay, who's batting 8th today. He's batted in the bottom of the order all season long, but has been one of the most productive hitters on the team. Being able to pick up runs towards the bottom of the order really makes your offense as a whole more potent. That first pitch coming over for a strike. And, of course, keeps things going once you get to the top of the order to be able to have guys that get on base that can be driven in by your leadoff hitter, your number 2 hitter. 0-1 the count. As that ball ripped out there in the left field and is going to fall for a base hit. Briggs coming in to score. Shepard over to third. An RBI single there for Nick Lacayo. And the Saints, with 3 straight hits to open up the ball game, they lead 1-0.
From Gilbert, Arizona, number 32, Cooper Williams.
Now Cooper Williams coming up to the plate. Williams batting on the season .264 with a home run, some extra base hits. He's been one of the, of course, more productive hitters and a big left-handed power bat. That's obviously something that any lineup needs, especially in the middle part of your order. So first and third, runners on the corners here, nobody out. The Saints already with a run in. First pitch in there for a called strike. And Anthony, of course, scoring runs early in the game. You know, it's great when you don't have to play catch-up and when you're able to put runners on early. We've mentioned all season long the ability to be able to capitalize on big situations. 3 hits 2 singles and a double to open up this ball game already with a run in, but now runners on first and third, nobody out. You want at least one more run, if not more, in this situation.
Absolutely. You don't want to look back later in the game and realize the missed opportunities. And right now, big opportunity for them with no outs.
Is that throw coming back into first base? Lacayo diving in. I'm not sure Lacayo's going to be going anywhere. Ball and a strike. Is that ball fouled back? Right towards us. Thank God there's a screen right in front of us.
Just to kind of speak to the idea of missed opportunities, I mean, the Saints in their last outing against the Orange County Riptide lost that one 11-0. 11 left on base in that game. That's one of those situations where you look back. Obviously, you're not going to score all those runs, but it's a game that if you look at just the score alone, it implies that they weren't in the ball game, but you had runners on the bases all day long.
And of course, a lot of those runs came in later in the game. Yeah. So for the first 5 or 6 innings of that game, the Saints were definitely in it. So the score, you see 11-0, but you're right, it's a little bit misleading.
Yeah.
Count even now 2-2. Williams working a good at-bat here. Would love to be able to get a pitch to drive here. 2-2 on the way. That ball is driven out there in the center field. Back on it goes Robbins there to make the catch. Shepard will tag up and come in to score. And so a sacrifice fly there by Cooper Williams, and it is now 2-0 Saints.
Now batting from New Mexico State, number 8, Tristan Peterson.
Not much of a surprise, but worth noting. I mean, you see Grant Robbins out there in center field. Looked like he had a little bit of trouble locating that ball to begin with. Still going to have sunlight here for quite a while in this ball game, so that could be an interesting theme to this ball game here. We might see a little bit of trouble with that sun in the outfield.
That's something that we've seen almost every game this season, is that throw coming back into first base. But every game so far this season, especially here at home, especially in the early innings, struggling with the sun. Balls hit to straightaway center field. That's a tough play, having to look directly into the sun, find the ball. Sometimes, you will lose it up there in the sky. Stay with it. So a good play out there by Robbins, able to keep track of the ball, making the catch, the first out of the inning. Another throw in there to first, just in time. Diving back in is Lacayo. And so a lot of throws over to first base so far. They definitely do want to keep the runners close. They don't want to let them run all over. As that throw gets away from the first baseman, and Lacayo able to get over to second base, and he will hold there. So that ball getting away, and Lacayo taking the extra base as they weren't able to pick it up. I think that ball may have reached the out-of-play area. So Lacayo taking third base. And so in an attempt to be able to keep the runner close, as I was just saying, the throw gets away, an error on the pitcher, and now we've got a runner on third, 1 out. An opportunity now here for a ground out or a sacrifice fly to be able to get the run in. Curveball up high, ball. And the count now 1-1. So, yeah, as you were going to, I think you were going to mention there, throws getting away or a lot of pickoff attempts here early on.
Yeah. And that was one of the big themes to their most recent ball game against the SoCal Catch, was just a lot of errors in that game at Biola University, really by both teams, but early in the game, it actually looked like it could have kept the SoCal Catch out of the game. Just an offensive explosion in the final 4 or 5 innings of that ball game that really brought them back from what was a defensive nightmare in the first part of that game.
That's the first error so far of the day, being charged to the pitcher, number 44. As we mentioned, Riley Watkins. We'll actually give you his numbers here in just a second. 3-1 count on the way. That ball missing up high, ball 4. So Watkins, not so much a starter, actually making his first start of this season. He's pitched 4 games so far this season, all of them in relief. Total 8 innings pitched, 4.5 ERA, 13 strikeouts in those 8 innings to 4 walks. That walk there, his 5th of this season. As you see the pitching coach of the SoCal Catch, Kevin Marshall. I think I'm saying that right. Kevin Marshall. He's going out there to talk to him, try and calm him down. Sometimes, you see a pitcher out there in the first inning, doesn't exactly have command of his stuff just yet. A little bit rattled, and the Saints making the most of their opportunities here with a couple runs already in.
Absolutely. Good to see them get these runs on the board early. And also like to say, I mean, we're seeing him struggle a little bit here at the start, but this is the kind of thing that I feel like we like to see, even as baseball fans. We see it, on our major league teams when they're not having a great season. You get to the end of the year, you see these guys who don't ordinarily start. You get a better look at them than you'd get, just maybe in 1 inning of relief. or maybe, you don't see him quite as much, throughout the season at all. And so, I mean, even for the Saints, as you said, Reed Osborne, starting today, and Riley Watkins here, not a normal starter. It's good to see, them mix it up a little bit here, make things a little interesting in these final few games.
Well, you definitely want to make it worth something for guys who maybe haven't played a whole lot this season. Watkins only pitching in 4 games so far, but the catcher played a number of games this season. Ball and no strikes here. Is that ball pulled out to the first baseman off of the foot of Angelo Armenta? That's going to be a foul ball. Armenta, 5th-year senior out of San Diego State University, transferring there from USC. He'll be playing his first season with the Aztecs this season. 160 so far in his limited time here with the Arroyo Seco Saints. Joined the team about midway through the season. Ball and 1 strike, 1 out, and runners on the corners for the Saints, and already 2 runs in. Armenta had a great game earlier than the last week with 3 hits, reaching base 4 times, and hit a home run. His only home run of the season thus far. His bat's really starting to come alive after quite a slow start. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. And as I mentioned, runners on the corners. Watkins delivers the pitches. A curveball missing up high, ball 2. Good take there. As you can see, the infielders there up the middle, looking for a double play. Holding Peterson on at first. The pitch in there for a called strike. Count even now at 2-2. And so for Watkins right now, it looks like just being able to get those pitches over for a strike. He's being able to throw his fastball for a strike right now. The breaking ball is a little bit of a work in progress here. The 2-2 is that ball lifted out into right center field. Over for it is the right fielder, Dalen Miley, there to make the catch. That throw coming in is cut off. Lacayo coming in to score. Sacrifice fly for Angelo Armenta, and it is now 3-0 Saints. Nice job by Armenta there. Not getting the base hit, but being able to deliver with a very productive out. Curveball lifting it out into the sky there.
Absolutely. Can't be overstated how important these runs are early in the game. We always talk about it. CCL games, they're high-scoring ball games typically. And so these runs, you may look at it right now and, think it's, well, it's early in the game, but, I mean,
well, that allows your pitcher to ease into it, too, a little bit.
Absolutely.
When you have some run support.
Yeah, and it's nice for a guy like Reed Osborne, as you talked about, not really, not starting this season very much, and now he gets to come in the next inning with a few runs in his back pocket.
3 runs to be precise, and perhaps more. As that pitch misses away, now 2-0 the count of Marco Martinez. Martinez batting .206 on the season so far here in the CCL. Had a bit of a hiatus in the middle of the season, but he's now back and playing almost every day, getting the start here as the designated hitter. 2-0 misses inside, now ball 3. Martinez is a freshman. He's going to be starting his freshman year at USC in the coming weeks. Obviously an exciting time for anybody going from high school to college. And of course, as a student athlete, being able to play. But those first few months is just going to be a transition for him as he takes outside ball 4. Second walk of the inning issued by Watkins, and now the Saints with runners on first and second. 2 out, Dalton Ney, the left fielder, coming up to bat.
Got to be an incredible feeling, too, to be able to attend such a prestigious place as USC and be able to play sports there. I'm sure that means a lot to him and his family.
I mean, it's one of the top institutions in the country for not just sports, but in general. USC is well known as a great school, and as a baseball program. As that looks like that'll be it for Watkins as exiting the game here. 2/3 of an inning pitch, 3 runs allowed, 2 potentially more on the bases as the Saints chase the starter here in the first inning. So we'll take a short break. We'll come back with the new pitcher and his numbers right after this. The Saints right now with a 3-0 lead and runners on first and second. We'll be back with more here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Yeah. All right. So who's this guy?
What do you mean? What happened to Keith Gate?
42.
Now pitching for the catch, number 42, Connor Klaczynski.
Connor Kuczynski. Kuczynski. 14.3, 3.77, 3.7 million?
Yeah.
How many games is he? I think it's the next one. he's a reliever for them.
Back here at Jackie Robinson Memorial Field, as the Saints with a big first inning here, 3 runs, 2 runners still aboard as they've chased the starter here in the first inning.
Still batting.
Fitting that we're here at Jackie
Leading
Robinson
varsity
Field as number 42
Dalton
coming
Day.
in for the catch. Anthony, give us a little bit about this pitcher here.
So this is Connor Machinsky, left-handed pitcher here for the SoCal Catch. Connor Machinsky has pitched 14 1/3 innings on the season. He's got a 3.77 ERA, and the Saints have seen him this season in the July 1st game at La Mirada. He ended up pitching 1 1/3 inning and didn't give up any hits or runs in that one.
And amazingly, you remember that all off the top of your head. As that first pitch
Sure.
is fouled out of play. Of course, it's no secret if anybody wants to follow along, go to calsummerbaseball.com. You can find all of these stats for every team in the California Collegiate League, Saints, Catch, and everyone in between. There's a count now 0-1, 2 out to Dalton A. Curveball, big bender there, missing outside, ball 1. Dalton on the season, and I actually do know this from memory, 207 on the season.
Nice.
I don't use the computer for my stats. I compile everything before the game onto my handwritten notes. 1-1 as a curveball bounced in there for a strike. So a ball and 2 strikes to Dalton. Of course, we mentioned all season long the bat speed of Dalton A is probably his best asset as a hitter, being able to turn on pitches and pull balls down the line. 1-2 on the way as that ball shot down the right side, but out of play, foul. And that's probably something that he's trying to work on, is being able to shoot the ball the other way,
Sure.
considering he's got great power and hitting ability on the pull side, but we don't really see him shoot a lot of balls out there to right field. 1 ball, 2 strikes on the way is a curveball. That ball is hit high, chopper. This is going to be a tough play over at first. Able to make the play is the third baseman, De Los Reyes. But the Saints leading 2, but scoring 3. And as we go to the top of the second inning, they're in front here 3-0. We'll be back with more here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Actually, I had a bottle. I don't know what happened. But I was gonna. Oh. All right, I'm gonna go.
UNLV, number 27.
Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network. You are watching the Saints versus the SoCal Catch here tonight in Pasadena. It's Tuesday night. Saints come here into the second inning now, up 3-0, and Reed Osborne is back on the mound.
Yeah, Osborne there giving a little bit of run support. And as we mentioned in the top half of the first inning, it's obviously something that you want to be able to give your pitcher a handful of runs to be able to work with. And so now he's able to maybe settle into the game, a 3-run lead. You know, you're not so worried about you have to make the exact perfect pitch because you can work around the strike zone a little bit. If you make a mistake, it's not so much of a big deal because you've got a little bit of a lead to work with, and one run isn't necessarily going to be able to kill you. So good for the Saints offense. Now it's up to the pitching to be able to hold this lead.
1-1 the count here on Grant Robbins, center fielder for the SoCal Catch.
Yeah, Robbins batting .233 on the season. You know, there's a handful of hitters on the Catch right now. Their average is about 170 to 240. And, you know, obviously it's a small sample. You know, you've only played about 30 to 40 games during the season here in the CCL, so it's not as if that, you know, you get a limited amount of at-bats. You're not necessarily playing every day, about 110 at-bats. So, you know, if you're just being able to be productive, that's really what you want to see out of these hitters.
And that one's going to get through for a base hit for Grant Robbins, left fielder for the Saints. Dalton Ney gets a hold of that one, and they got a leadoff runner now for the SoCal Catch, and that makes way for Wasey Crenshaw.
Yeah, there's not going to be a no-hitter here tonight.
Bummer.
We lost a perfect game in the top half of the first, and now the no-hitter here in the second inning. Oh, we still got the shutout on the board, although I'm mentioning it. There's nothing about mentioning a shutout. There's no superstition about that, so hopefully we'll be able to pull that out.
Sure. And that one's going to go up the middle for a second straight base hit. So the SoCal Catch have runners on first and second now. And Dalen Miley going to come up to the plate. Excuse me, Jacob Namath, the DH now, coming up to the plate here with runners on first and second.
Namath, he's a big guy. He's one of the biggest guys on the team, and honestly, he's one of the bigger guys I've seen in the entire league. 6'6". Not sure exactly what his weight is, but you can tell he's just somebody who potentially could hit for a lot of power. And I'm not sure if you can see it on your screen, but he's actually wearing a full body suit with a hood right now underneath his uniform. And as you mentioned, Anthony, the all-black uniforms in this heat, it is an interesting choice. But for Namath, he's making it work right now.
Wow. Feel incredibly warm just with the thought of that. As that one's going to get to third, turns it over to second for the out in time for the double play. Runner moves up to third, but the Saints turn two.
Great job there by Shepard. You know, a lot of times, you know that you have to make these plays kind of quickly. Sometimes your brain moving faster than your hands. But, you know, if you're just able to sit tight, make the play, you know, you have enough time so long as you're able to just do what you normally do and do what you're supposed to do. So a great job there by Shepard, not trying to rush things, knowing he's got enough time, getting the ball, making a good throw to second base, and they were able to turn that double play rather easily.
So now Dalen Miley comes up to bat.
And Miley is a good example of what you were talking about earlier. Somebody who is hitting low in the order, but is a good hitter with good numbers, 268, 8 RBIs. He's somebody that I think that the Catch like to put towards the bottom of the order to be able to turn that lineup over some and deliver in situations like this where you've got a guy on third base, 2 outs. You know, you're looking for a base hit in this spot, and you're facing, you know, the bottom of your order. You do not want to just give up here. So 2-0 count. This is definitely a hitter's count. You'd like to see, well, if you're a Saints fan, you wouldn't like to see this, but, you know, if you're the hitter, you would like to see a pitch over the plate here that you're able to do something with and try and get over the head of the infielders for a base hit.
Fouls that one off. 2-1 the count now. And not really relevant to the game, but I feel like worth noting because we're in that time of baseball season where interesting trades are going to be going down. Zach Britton going to the Yankees.
Oh, is that confirmed?
Is
that coming across the wire right now?
That is. Yeah, New York Yankees in agreement on reliever Zach Britton from the Baltimore Orioles.
Well, that
3-1 the count.
That is a huge move. Of course, Britton, I mean, he's one of the top closers in all of baseball. And for the Yankees, a team trying to get to Boston and not playing that one-game playoff but win the division, that's a huge move for them. And bolsters are already really strong bullpen.
Swings and misses, 3-2 the count. Gotta say, I'm not a big fan of trading within your division. Never been a big fan of it.
Well, I'm not sure what Britton's contract is like. That might not be a situation where that move could potentially hurt them down the road. Time called there. On a full count, you expect to see something over the plate, but if I'm Reed Osborne in this situation, knowing that you got a couple of bases open and knowing that you're towards the bottom of the order, I'm definitely not giving in and throwing a pitch right over the plate necessarily. I'm going to try to be able to maybe throw a breaking ball here, something that you're trying to sort of imply that you're going to throw a strike and then have that pitch kind of dip out of the zone, and if you throw a ball, you throw a ball. There you go.
So he walks Dalen Miley, and Ryan Smoot going to come up to the plate now, batting at the bottom of the order.
From Virginia Military Institute.
Yeah, Smoot.
Number 26, Ryan Smoot.
As we mentioned, he's the catcher, and he's batting ninth. The 146 numbers on this season. Now, obviously, is not great. But, as I mentioned, when you're playing, and a catcher is probably the position that this most applies to, being that a lot of these teams have 3, 4, 5 catchers. You're not going to be playing in the lineup every single day. You're probably only going to have about 60 to 70 at-bats, and that's enough where you could be in a slump for a couple of weeks, and your whole season is going to look pedestrian, potentially, even though that might not necessarily be representative of who you are as a player or who you are as a hitter. So you see a guy like 146, you don't want to instantly assume, oh, no, we don't need to worry about him. We're going to be able to retire him, no problem, because he has the quality that he might actually be. Is something that you don't want to be able to judge.
Yeah, the runner takes off here. No throw made, so Dalen Miley safe at second.
Generally, when you see hitters in this league and they're hitting well above 300, that's a good sign of what they are. It isn't necessarily just, oh, they had a couple of good weeks. That's generally, oh, this guy's a really good hitter. But when you see somebody about 150, 160, that doesn't mean that they're not a great player. It's just that, well, you had a rough couple weeks there.
Absolutely, and I mean, we've seen that kind of firsthand this season on a team that's got, several catchers where they've come up big at times despite, looking at that batting average and, maybe, not an accurate measure of who they are, as you said.
Well, I mean, I think of somebody like Bryce Gray, who, he's not had a spectacular season here at the CCL, but you expect when he goes back to Notre Dame this season, especially with some of the stuff that he's been working on out here, he's going to probably have a huge year. Playing for a team next season that expects to compete in the ACC, which is one of the top baseball conferences in Division I. So, you see, well, okay, maybe 220, 230, and you think, well, this isn't Major League Baseball where 220 over 150 games, that's about what you are. This is 35 games. It's a very small sample. You can't really judge based on that.
3-2 the count now.
And, of course, catching. That's a position that you do a lot more than just what you do at the plate. A lot of your value comes from what you can do behind the plate. And I haven't seen Smoot enough. I don't really know the SoCal catch all that well. So, it depends on what he's able to do maybe behind the plate, being able to call games, throw runners, sort of be able to work his ability to work with pitchers.
And that one chops up to the shortstop, Armenta. And he's going to dig that out for the third and final out of the inning. So the runners are stranded, and the Saints are going to get out of the top of the first inning, still with a 3-0 lead. We'll be back in a moment on the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network.
I can't believe Britain just got saved with like the last 5 years. It's like they need another close, right? I mean, you've already got Kansas, you've already got Chapman. They have another guy, right? David Robinson, who throws in. He's like in 6 innings. So they have. I was talking to Thomas about this earlier. Like, their whole team right now is structured to where you've got starters who are okay, like 7 really good, but the rest of them are just kind of meh. So you're going to be 5 innings, 4 or 5 innings, and then you're going to go straight to the bullpen and usually closes. I don't know if they'll be able to.
Now batting from UC San Bernardino, number 1, Gabe Chavez.
Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network. We are at the bottom of the second inning. Your Saints lead this one 3-0, and that is Gabe Chavez up at the plate to start us off.
You can hear there the coaching staff giving him a little bit of a hard time, but Chavez is one getting drilled there on the foot. Chavez is somebody that really is one of the toughest guys on the team and is a true competitor, and he's somebody I think is a perfect example of what I was talking about, where you go through a slump and it lowers your whole numbers for the season, but it really isn't an expression of who you are as a player. Chavez is really one of the top players on the team, but his numbers do not belie that at this point, just because he had a stretch a couple weeks where he did struggle at the plate some and then had an injury, and so he missed some time, and then it was working himself back from that injury. And now, of course, being drilled there in the leg. Although no ill effects apparently over there.
Cameron Briggs fouls that one off. 0-1 the count. Briggs really set the table for these guys in the first inning, getting things started offensively for what was a really big first inning of the game for the Saints.
Oh yeah, he pulled the ball through the hole there. And as you see, there is still quite a big hole there on the shortstop third base side. I mean, Briggs, he's one of my favorite players in the team just because of his versatility. He's playing in center field tonight. I'm not sure if he's played center field yet this season, but we've literally seen him at this point, I think, play every position but catcher. Yeah. We saw him pitch on Saturday. He threw an inning on Saturday's game. He's thrown a couple innings so far this season. Played some first base, played some third base.
As that one takes a bounce, and Gabe Chavez is going to be safe at second.
Yeah, so apparently no ill effects, because Chavez with a great jump be able to get there on to second base on that wild pitch. You love to be able to see that whenever the ball, sometimes unless the ball will get all the way to the backstop, you don't normally see runners trying to advance that ball, getting away some from the catcher there, and Chavez was moving pretty much right away as soon as the ball hit the dirt, able to get into second base rather easily there.
And for a guy like Cameron Briggs being at the plate, as that one outside now, 3-1 the count, I don't think you want to put somebody in scoring position for a guy like Cameron Briggs.
No, not at all. And I mean, Briggs is another guy that we talk about, situational hitter. Came into today's game batting .262, and then he picked up a single in the first inning. So right now, he's going to be trying to hit that ball to the right side, and there's a big hole out there.
And that one's going to get through yet again. And here comes the runner home, Gabe Chavez on the run, and he is going to be in. And the Saints lead this one 4-0. The ball gets away, and Cameron Briggs is in its second now. So a really big set of plays there for the Saints. Not only do they score the next run, but now we got the runner in scoring position after the ball gets away there from the catcher.
And that was a real deja vu moment. That ball pulled right there in the hole, as I mentioned, and they left that hole open again. Briggs almost identical to his hit in the first inning, except this time Chavez coming around all the way. Aggressive base running there, but able to beat the throw and the ball getting away from the catcher. Sets up Briggs now in scoring position for Colin Shepard.
Cameron Briggs has his 10th RBI on the season. Ball one here for Colin Shepard.
And so now it looks like the Saints are in sort of a pour-it-on mode. You have a 4-run lead, but you have nobody out, a guy on second base, and we're in the second inning. So you're in a situation where if your offense is really swinging it really well right now, sometimes over the course of a game, you'll be really hot to start, but then you'll kind of taper off towards the end. So you're hot right now. You want to add as many runs as possible, be able to build that lead up, and at this rate, they're on pace, I think, for 24 runs. So that's a lot, and I would be surprised if they do get to 24 or even potentially to 20 or 15.
They're doing it.
Well, they're on pace for 3 runs an inning, and at this rate, they'll score another 3 runs in this inning. But you want to be able to score as many as possible early on, and once you have a big lead, even then you want to be able to add on to your lead, because you never know. And as Anthony, as you've mentioned, these games are really high scoring. You know that the Catch at some point are going to be able to put some runs on the board. And, we had a game last week. It was 12-2 the Saints led, and they ended up winning the game 15-14. So that tells you right there that you have a big lead. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a big lead in the 9th inning.
Chris, we don't talk about that game anymore.
Well, we should. You know what, though? But that's great. When you have a lead that big and you give it up, a lot of times what happens is a demoralizing thing. You'll end up losing that game. So it was a great job by the Saints to be able to even win that game. They won in a walk-off fashion. So, coming back from, You give a lot of credit coming back from a 10-run deficit to be able to tie the game on behalf of, I believe that was the OC Riptide,
Yeah.
who came back from that deficit. So a lot of credit to them to be able to even come back from that, but
Sure.
even more credit to the Saints to be able to withstand it and ultimately win that game. And of course, 15 runs. That's, you give your offense a ton of credit just for being able to do that. You score 15. You score 15 runs, even if that isn't a loss. You don't really feel so bad if you're a position player because, well, you did put up big numbers at it.
Left fielder trying to track that one down, but that is well foul. The count still 3-2 here on Colin Shepard.
So a good at bat here by Shepard in a lefty versus lefty matchup. But Shepard does well against left-handed pitching. Sometimes when they talk about the lefty-lefty matchup, a lot of times what makes that difficult is when you've got a flamethrower on the mound, somebody who's able to overpower you, and it's tough to pick up the pitch. But this man, number 42, is not so much a 95-plus pitcher. He's more of a finesse pitcher.
And that one's sent out to left field for out number 1 here. Making way now for Nick Lacayo. First out of the inning here for the Saints. And the runner still
Now
on
back
second.
for Michigan State, number 15, Nick Lacayo.
Yeah, Lacayo, we mentioned that Briggs got it going for the Saints, but it was really Lacayo being able to get that first run on the board there with the single. And now he's got another opportunity to drive in a run in this ball game. I mean, that's what you do when you bat third in the lineup. They say the number 4 hitter is the cleanup hitter. Well, number 3 definitely is a guy who's put in a position to drive in a lot of runs. And when you are the number 3 hitter in the order, sometimes you think of number 4, that's your big power hitter sometimes, but your number 3, that's often your best overall hitter. And so for Lacayo batting third today, that's his job, being able to drive in runs, get base hits, keep it going, keep the line moving.
Swings and misses there. 0-2 the count now on Nick Lacayo.
Yeah, you saw a big curveball there. I think his eyes got as wide as a pizza. That looked like a pitch that, out of the hand, that looked like a big looping curveball. You wanted to be able to shoot that ball well over the wall, over that Domenico sign out there in left center field, maybe.
Swings and misses on that one.
That's a foul tip
Fouls
there,
it.
actually.
Yeah, foul tip. Thank you.
Able just to get a piece of that one, and that's a huge thing to be able to do when you're in an 0-2 count and you swing at a pitch, and as soon as you swing, I really shouldn't have chased after that ball. Able just to get a piece of it, that gives you new life, and now you're in a situation where, okay, if I'm going to have this at bat, an at bat that might have been over just a few seconds ago, now we're going to try to make the most of it.
And that one a swing and a miss. Strikeout for Nick Lacayo.
Batting from Gilbert, Arizona.
And now Cooper Williams
32.
coming up to the plate here,
Cooper Williams.
playing first base today for the Saints.
Williams is somebody who's used to this heat. He's somebody at Arizona product. We mentioned he's played some baseball here at New Mexico State University, as well in the desert there, and then grew up in Gilbert, Arizona.
Yeah, this is nothing for him.
Nothing for him. This is like the wintertime.
Yeah.
Although, you know what, I'm not sure if you're from Arizona and I'm from Florida, and it's very hot out there in Florida as well, and it's hot, no question. I don't know. I don't even care if you're from the planet Venus. I think you're thinking today, oof, this is a real scorcher today.
Fouls that one off. 1-1 the count on Cooper Williams.
Of course, on Venus, it does get to over 600 degrees.
Yikes.
Not that I've ever been there.
Well, a lot of talk about MLB expansion. Hopefully they don't go there.
No, of course not. I can't imagine the travel schedule. You kidding me?
Yikes.
They don't even want to put a team in Mexico. How are they going to put a team on another planet?
And that one gets to the first baseman for the final out of the inning. We'll be back in a moment with more talk about baseball expanding to Venus. That coming up next on the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network.
Dude, I don't see him. You should be able to put it in ground.
Now batting from UC Riverside, number 34, Skylar De Los Reyes.
Top of the third inning here. Saints leading the Catch by a score of 4-0 as Reed Osborne back out for his third inning. At the top of the order coming up here for this SoCal Catch, I'm joined now by Saints reliever, closer, and all-star pitcher, Joey Steele. Joey, thank you for joining us here on the broadcast.
Oh, no problem.
I know it is your second time here on the broadcast,
Yes.
I think, this season.
Yes, this is my second time.
We're wrapping things up here and doing a little bit of reruns, I guess, but we're glad to have you on. So, Joey, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the All-Star game. Obviously, being one of the Saints representatives here in the CCL prospect game last week, take us a little bit through what was going on there. What was the event like? And obviously, there was a lot of festivities there beyond just the ball game. So, take us through what was that day like for you.
Yeah. Well, I got to the field around 2:30. Went to the locker room, met some of the guys that were going to be on my team and all the All-Stars that were there, and it was pretty cool getting to know all those guys. They're from all over the place, and then I think the position players did a little bit of a showcase thing where they did some BP and felt some ground balls, and then the game was the game.
No, you did.
Fun time, fun experience for me to do that. No, successful.
And now, so we're wrapping up the season in the final 3 games left before the end of the season often. So, as we depart and everybody, obviously there's going to be able to go through the next few weeks before really getting back into your, you're going to have a limited summer vacation maybe. So
right.
What do you expect in these next couple of weeks?
Well, actually on July 29th, I'm going to Hawaii. So I'm gonna get away from all this baseball stuff and hang out on the beach and relax and play some golf and take a break from all this. It's been a long
stay away
long
from the
summer.
volcanoes out there.
Exactly, yeah. But no, I'm excited to finish this up strong and take a break for a little bit for sure.
And then it's back to the grind, of course.
Yes, headed back probably around August 18th, and then it starts from there.
Now, of course, we've seen you this season really blossom and be one of the stars on this team. We've done a lot of work here with the interns, of course. We feel like we're putting you on Twitter almost every single day, getting player of the game honors, and you've definitely been one of the stars on the team. And going to University of San Francisco next year, and we've talked about trying to get into that closer's role and be one of the late inning arms for that team. Do you feel like your performance this season has really helped your opportunity to be able to shine next season for the Dons next year?
Yeah, I think so. This summer was definitely my best summer overall, stats-wise, and just being able to, because I haven't been able to finish the summer ball my first 2 years. So I think being able to finish this one out really does a lot for me and my confidence in going into the fall and the spring with just a kind of a chip on my shoulder, just having the confidence that I know I can do it and stay healthy through it all, for sure.
All right, now the new batter coming up, Jacob Rogers, batting .296, had a walk in the first inning. We're joined here by Joey Steele, Saints closer and all-star from earlier this season. A couple of other all-stars, although some of them weren't able to make the game for various reasons, as that ball is popped out towards the foul territory. Cooper Williams racing over, making the catch, and just in the nick of play as he was racing out of the field of play there. The umpire ruled him out. We'll see if that call will stand. Yes, it will. So 2 down now. And as I mentioned, a couple of all-stars weren't able to make the game there. Blake Beers, of course, with a little bit of the stomach virus, and Michael Gomez, of course, who signed with the Phillies. And one of the things about being able to work with teammates who also had prolific seasons is, you're able to sort of form these relationships with these guys and go forward. Do you plan to keep the relationships with the people that you've met so far this summer? And what are some of the things that you've been able to learn from them that you're going to be able to take with you going forward?
I've definitely made a lot of good relationships on this team, and hopefully I can keep those relationships further after this summer ball team. And I've definitely learned a lot from other guys, just picking their brains, talking mechanics, and all the time with me and Mike. Mike did that a lot, and I think he's helped me. And but just overall, just as a staff, I think we've been able to learn a lot from each other and build off stuff that works for other people and use it to our advantage and go forward with that in our preparation so that in the game we can have the best results possible.
Umpires out there talking about the play. It looks like that ball was towards the out of play line out there. As you know, we've got one of the dimensions of the field. They extended beyond the field of play, so there is a line that sort of marks where the field of play ends and where foul territory, not foul territory, but where the stands, so to speak, begin. Cooper Williams was right at the edge of the line there, but he makes the catch. Runner advances over to second base because he was out of play. And so now there's a runner on our second base, 2 out. And the batter now, the shortstop, Jake Boone. We're here with Joey Steele, the closer for the Arroyo Seco Saints. And in a 4-0 game so far, might not be able to get in tonight. What do you think of the offense here so far for the first couple innings in this ballgame?
Oh, man, they've been hitting it pretty well.
Chasing the starter there in the first inning.
Oh, yeah, that's always good to get the starter out early for sure, get to the bullpen early. And so hopefully we can keep this going and we can maybe throw a shutout so we can get some pitchers BP tomorrow.
Now, we've seen, I was just about to say, you've seen guys, Bobby Fulkerson, somebody who gets in quite a few times. He's 3 for 6 on the season.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to get out there and get a couple at bats in before the end of the season?
Oh, I mean, I've always wanted to get back in there, but I don't think I would do very well. So I wouldn't want to hurt the team at all.
I tell you what, you get in maybe for an at bat, and I'll get in for an at bat, and we'll try going on Thursday.
Of course, yeah.
All right, Joe. Thank you. We appreciate you stopping by.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And hopefully we'll see you out there tonight, ninth inning.
Of course, let's hope so.
We'd love to see it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll be back with the bottom of the third inning. Saints leading now 4-0. We'll be back with more here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Hey, thanks, Joey. You're welcome.
Why did he go to second?
I think he went to second because he ran out of play. He caught the ball and ran out of play. So they gave him second base because he went out of play. That's what I think happened.
There wasn't. Are you sure there wasn't defensive?
Well, the only other thing
I was thinking he tried tagging, and the second Chavez might have been his way.
Maybe. I'll ask you if I get a chance tonight when like the umpire comes over. I'll try to ask him.
Okay.
Now batting from New Mexico State, number 8, Tristan Peterson.
Welcome back here to Pasadena. The Saints leading the SoCal Catch by a score of 4-0. We're here in the bottom of the third inning. Christopher Diavanzo joined by my partner, Anthony Alejandrez. Anthony joining us again after taking the half inning off there as we had Joey Steele come on the broadcast. And so as we were talking about with Joey, one of the all-stars in the team and one of the stars, if you will, from this season, definitely been one of the top players on the team. And so, Anthony, who are some guys beyond Steele who have really stood out to you this season as guys who maybe have a future in this game, certainly guys who have had a prolific summer?
Well, obviously, I mean, I got to look right to the All-Stars as far as John Thomas. The first part of this season, he was incredibly difficult to get out, and not to say that he isn't now, but everybody's batting average goes down a little bit when you have that great of a season or that great of a start to the season. So for a guy like John Thomas, just a guy who's been an on-base machine this season, he's done a great job. Jacob Jenkins has had a great season as well.
That ball shot down the right field line, but landing just foul. Potentially extra bases there for Peterson, just missing out.
But yeah, guys like John Thomas and Jacob Jenkins are guys that I point to who I just think that they got a great game.
Jacob Jenkins, that's an interesting choice. Jenkins is a two-way player. We've seen him a little bit. And of course, he's transferring this season. He's going to be going to Western Kentucky next year. But we've seen huge numbers for him at Mid-America Nazarene University. He's been one of their top hitters for the 2 years that he's been there. Tristan Peterson now up at the plate. 1-2 count to Peterson. Peterson reached base in the first inning with a walk. Curveball missing just high. Good pitch there, but a good take by Peterson, letting it go, and the count now even at 2-2. Peterson batting 197 on the year, but he's somebody obviously that, as we mentioned, low average does not necessarily mean, because as he drills that ball out deep into left field, that ball going up against the wall. Peterson rounding first and heading into second base rather easily there. Leadoff double for the Saints. And that'll get Peterson's average back over 200.
Absolutely.
11, Angelo Armenta.
Peterson coming alive these last couple of weeks. And Armenta now coming up. Armenta, a switch hitter. And you saw him bat left-handed his first time up against the right-handed starter, Riley Watkins. But now in lefty, number 42 for the for the SoCal Catch. But Angelo Armenta shifting over to the right side. First pitch on the way is a fastball missing up high, ball one. And I was actually going to mention, as the ball was shot down the right field line, foul. You know, it's always an unfortunate thing when you just miss extra bases or a home run by inches foul, because a lot of times what ends up happening is you strike out.
Yeah.
But a nice job there by Peterson, you know, staying in the at-bat, not letting that potential hit take him out of it, and then drilling a ball. I thought that had a shot to get out. It just missed getting out, landed on the warning track. You know, maybe about an hour ago with the sun up a little more and a little more heat, that ball maybe would have carried out of here.
Yeah, and you got to think for some of these Saints players, they got to be a little disappointed now and then when they have those long shots here at this ballpark, because in many other ballparks, it would have left.
Yeah, you think about Healdsburg.
Yeah.
That would have been probably a home run out of Healdsburg. Yeah. But at any rate, it is a double, and that is an extra base hit. Good for the slugging percentage. And a 2-1 count now on the way to Armenta as that pitch was fouled back.
And one of the reasons why we say no cheap home runs at Brookside.
No, certainly no cheap home runs. We were talking about that off the air a little bit before the game started today about, you know, the interns are going to get to take some batting practice on Thursday. And are going to have an excellent opportunity to see really what they can do with the bat. But it is unlikely that anybody's going to be able to hit one out of here. We got a couple of former baseball players that are on the staff, and even they are going to be hard-pressed to be able to really get a hold of one and drive it 370 plus. 345 down the right field line. Maybe if you're a powerful lefty, get in front of a pitch, you know, maybe you've got a shot.
And I'm a lefty, but not powerful.
No. You're a slap hitter, and then get on first and steal your way around the bases. Yeah. 3-2 the count. Full count now. As Armenta lines that one into center field, that'll get through for a base hit. Peterson rounding third, he's going all the way. The throw home is not in time. Sliding in is Peterson, and Armenta will advance to second on the throw. It is an RBI single, and it is now a 5-0 Saints lead.
Now batting from
Not wasting opportunities so far in the game are the Saints offensively. Big start for them here in the first few innings of this ball game.
And you love the aggressive base running there. Peterson rounding third all the way. Not a bad throw there by the center fielder, but not in time. And of course, whenever the throw gets all the way to home from the outfield, usually you're the runner on first base, you're trying to get up to second base there. A good play by Armenta to be able to advance.
Yeah, really got to give these base runners credit. That's not the first time today where we've seen the ball bounce even just a bit away from the catcher on the throw home, and that runner from first is taken off right away and gotten himself an extra base.
So now Marco Martinez, the DH, coming up, taking the first pitch inside there for a ball. And as you mentioned, Saints capitalizing on these opportunities here. 5-0 lead here in the 3 innings of this game so far. Not really leaving many runners on base, which has been the bugaboo for this team all season long. Driving in these runners here and now putting up a nice lead here in the first 3 innings of this game. That pitch missing outside, ball 2. And the catch pitchers have struggled to throw strikes a little bit, so they're really making them work and taking advantage when they get into these hitters' counts. So a 2-0 count now to Martinez. Armenta leading off from second base. That ball misses inside now, 3-0. And I asked you earlier in the game, that was a 0-0. We only had one guy on base at the time. 3-0 count, you have the green light. Now you have a 5-0 lead and a guy on second base. First base is open here. And a 3-0 count. Do you have the green light, you think, Anthony?
I think it'd be fair enough, too, in this situation. As you said, 5-0 lead.
Well, that pitch missing way up high, getting all the way to the backstop. Armenta going to third. And, of course, ball 4, Martinez is going to advance to first base. So now runners on the corners. Dalton A coming up to bat. Still nobody out. And pitching coach for the SoCal Catch coming out to talk. That is Kevin Marshall, number 37 there, as you see him entering your screen. And so really a struggle for these catch pitchers so far. And, you know, you mentioned that in Healdsburg, they really struggled all series long. You said there was a game they gave up 21 runs. They followed that up by giving up 11 runs. Of course, on the Sunday effort there, they seemed to fix things and get it back to 4-3 was the final in that game. 4-3, they were on the losing side. But so far now, 5 runs in 3 innings. And honestly, it's 2 innings plus. We have yet to record it out here in the 3rd inning. First and third, the guys on for the Saints. Dalton A, big-time right-handed hitter coming up. So, Anthony, imagine, put yourself in Dalton A's shoes. You're coming up here to bat with the guys on the corners. You know, even a double play brings in a run right now. So what is your approach? You're leading 5-0. Are you swinging aggressively in this spot? What are you trying to do?
I think you are swinging aggressively. You know, these guys, they've been playing this, you know, in the CCL long enough here now to know that, I mean, you got to score a lot of runs to not even feel safe in the game. I would never say feel safe in a CCL game, but you definitely want to build a little more comfort to that lead. And in the third inning, certainly 5-0. I believe the rule of thumb in a CCL game is consider your lead about half as big as it really is.
And that pitch hitting Dalton Nay there, a curveball getting away, and that'll load up the bases. That's actually a good rule of thumb there. About half, consider your lead about half of what you have. So you're sort of approaching this game from a mentality of about 3-0 as opposed to 5-0, which 3-run lead, that's certainly with however many innings, 5 to 6 innings still left to be played in this game, that is a lead where that can be overcame.
Absolutely.
And we've seen 5-6 run innings aplenty so far this season. So bases loaded now. Nobody out for Gabe Chavez. First pitch swinging. He hits that ball out of play on the right side. 0-1 now the count. Chavez reached base on a hit by pitch. So Nay not the only guy to be plunked so far today. He's so 0 for 0 coming up now. First at bat, second plate appearance. Second pitch on the way. Misses in. That ball nearly struck Nay. Hit by pitch in this spot is as good as anything. That'll bring home a run.
Yeah, and your lead is half as big as it is philosophy. That kind of came to my mind watching as many games as an NL West, a fan of an NL West team, watching games at Coors Field.
That ball gets away all the way to the backstop. Armenta coming in to score, and everybody advancing up 90 feet. It is now 6-0 Saints. As that throw gets away from the pitcher. He couldn't see the ball in the sun, and now Marco Martinez comes in to score. So a wild pitch, and then an error as the ball gets away from the pitcher, losing it up in the sun, it seems. 2 runs come in to score, and now the Saints lead it 7-0.
Yeah, you can see Connor Machinsky. I mean, that one just tossed him a little bit, but nonetheless, no idea, you know, couldn't see where that ball was at all, and it really cost them here as this lead now 7-0.
I wasn't sure if he was even expecting the ball there.
Yeah.
2-1 the count now to Chavez. Bases were loaded. Now there's a man on second with nobody out. That ball hit high into the air. Out towards second base. Over to make the catch is Christian Franklin. Nay's not going anywhere. So first out in the inning, Gabe Chavez on a pop-up, and that'll bring us back to the top of the order. Cameron Briggs now. Briggs 2 for 2 so far in this game with an RBI. Cameron has loved that hole in between shortstop and third base today.
Absolutely. We've seen it twice. You were kind of describing the first one when the second one was just about to happen. See if we see something similar here.
Well, you see the shortstop moving over a little bit, trying to plug up that hole. A lot of room potentially up the middle or on the right side. As Briggs sends that one out to right field. On the run is the right fielder diving. He's not able to make the play. That ball lands fair. Here comes Nay rounding third. He will come home to score. It is an RBI double for Cameron Briggs and an 8-0 Saints lead.
Briggs having a big game so far. Another big opportunity, and he delivers here in the third inning.
3 for 3 now, 2 RBIs with an extra base hit. And I might be speaking a little bit early, but we always have a player in the game, or usually, especially during Saints wins, we like to feature one of our Saints members as a player of the game. And Cameron Briggs now 3 for 3. He looks like the early favorite.
Yeah, certainly a strong candidate. Set the bar high here early, only the third inning, but great job here thus far.
That ball bouncing in front there. Ball 1. Colin Shepard now the batter. Shepard had a double in the first inning. Flew out to left field in the second inning. And, you know, you always love it when you come up for your third at-bat in the third inning of the game. That means you're having a lot of success on offense.
Absolutely, and I mean, we talked about it. It all started in the first inning with Cameron Briggs kind of setting the table for the offense, and now here we are in the third, 8-0 lead. He delivers in that 8th run.
So 1-0 the count now to Shepard. He'll step out of the box, call time. Give you a little bit of Nomar Garciaparra there, readjusting the gloves. That's probably what he's most known for, Nomar. Yeah, he had a great career, but known for his glove and his stance. Is that pitch coming in there for a called strike? Of course, Dodger fans, if Dodger fans are watching us, they'll remember Nomar Garciaparra as a one-time Dodger, probably best known as a Boston Red Sox. 1 ball, 1 strike. As that pitch crosses the outside corner. And Anthony, I know you really didn't have anything to say. I know you weren't expecting me to bring up Nomar on the broadcast today. But that's what you do when you get to an 8-0 game.
Yeah.
At this point, you start working in whatever you can.
Well, that's the fun thing about baseball broadcasts. You end up saying these names sometimes that you maybe a guy you haven't mentioned in years or haven't heard about in years.
Well, we'll try to work in a few more. If you think of anybody, somebody who a player reminds you of. I mentioned once, last time I was on, when the SoCal Catch came to town, this was, I think, my first game of the year, when I believe it is Jacob Nemeth. We'll see when he comes up again if it was him. I think it was him. But reminding me of Reese Hoskins of the Philadelphia Phillies. And I think they wear the same number, both number 17, but just big right-handed hitters that look like they've got a lot of leverage because they're very tall. 3-2 the count. That pitch missing up high. Good take by Shepard, and that is ball 4. Shepard will hustle down there to first base.
Michigan State, number 15.
The bat boy there coming into the edge of your frame there. Nick Lacayo now coming up to the plate. Lacayo with a 1-for-2 day so far, an RBI single in the first inning, and a strikeout, as that will be it for the Saints, for the Catch pitcher, exiting here with 2 runners on and 1 out in an 8-0 game. So we'll take a short break, and we'll come back here with the rest of the bottom of the 3rd inning. The Saints forcing another pitching change, Another pitching change. A pitching change coming up here. We'll be right back. It is 8-0 Saints. You're listening to the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
It's live, okay? It happened. Yeah, just I didn't say you fucking. Yeah.
Now pitching for the Catch, number 18, Tyler McKee.
So we're getting to a point where if you want to bring up some baseball topics or something to talk about, get on and although I would wait not just in this inning, just if we got it. Yeah. We just had Steele on, talking a little All-Star, and then Henry said he wanted to do Yeah, oh yeah, we're not gonna, Don't worry. I don't want to. Although I did just misspeak and said pissing instead of pitching change. I don't know if you heard that.
You're good.
Okay.
We still have 2 games left, so I still can't fire him.
Okay. I will make sure he doesn't say anything. We'll be okay.
Now batting for Michigan State, number 15, Nick Lacayo.
Back here in Pasadena, the Saints leading the Catch by an 8-0 margin. It has been all Saints so far through the first 2.5 innings of this ball game. As runners are on first and second with 1 out. Nick Lacayo coming up to the plate. Anthony, tell us a little bit about this new SoCal Catch pitcher.
So right-handed pitcher Tyler McKee is on the mound now for the SoCal Catch. He has appeared, he's pitched 13 innings so far this season, and he's got a 10.38 ERA so far on the season.
Says first pitch misses low. So you're in a spot, 8-0 game. It's a little bit early to call it mop-up duty, but certainly you're trying to be able to get some innings out of this when you've already gone to your 3rd pitcher in the 3rd inning of the game. As that ball chopped very high out to 3rd base on a 2nd for 1 in time, that's all they're going to be able to get there. So the force out at 2nd. Shepard now retired as Cooper Williams will come up to the plate. Runners on the corners and 2 away. And Anthony, that reminds me of play from yesterday's game. Not from yesterday's Saints game, but from a Major League game. Everyone talking about it on the sports shows today. Gary Sanchez from the Yankees hitting a high chopper with 2 outs in the 9th inning and the bases loaded. The Rays trying to turn a play out there at 2nd base. He was safe. Sanchez not hustling out the ball and thrown out at 1st base. And ultimately, if he was, they tried to turn a double play or try to make a force out there that ended the game. It wouldn't, or it would have tied the game if Sanchez had made it to first base in time, but he wasn't running down the line, and the Rays were able to make the play and ultimately win the ball game. That pitch missing inside there. So, you know, whenever you see that, and we've seen it, of course, you know, you see that in any baseball game, but we've seen it a few times so far this season with the Saints and with other teams where you hit a ball, you think, oh, that's going to be an easy out, and you're just lollygagging it down to first base line. That ball shot up the middle into center field there, a base hit. RBI single for Cooper Williams. It is now 9-0 Saints.
And there's a situation, I mean, kind of just situation here where we're talking about, I mean, how big it is there. I mean, that could have been a double play, but nonetheless, Nick Lacayo able to make it down the line, continue the inning, and now another run comes in here for the Saints.
As I was just going to say, scores another run and potentially more. Tristan Peterson now coming up, and you'll recall Peterson leading the inning off with a double. He's 1 for 1 with that double as he hits that ball high up into the sky, over towards the screen. The catcher racing over. That ball will be out of play. And just behind the broadcast booth of the SoCal Catch, bouncing into the stands there. Very lucky that ball landed behind them and not on top of them.
Yeah.
So 0-1 the count is there looking over at us.
Yeah, no tent over there.
Yeah, you got to try and make the play. 0-1 the count.
Yeah, no tent over there for the SoCal Catch broadcast team, so definitely got to be on the lookout today.
As that ball rocketed down the left field line, but foul. Just a, you know, they call that when it's a ball you really get a hold of and you pull it foul. It's just a long strike.
Yeah.
Now the count 0-2 to Peterson. And as I mentioned, Peterson led off the inning with a double. Came in to score on a single by Angelo Armenta. And now up here, the 10th batter of the inning. The Saints already with 5 runners in. That ball popped up on the infield. The pitcher over underneath it will make the catch. The SoCal Catch making the play there as we go now to the 4th inning. 2 runners left aboard, but 5 runners coming in to score. We'll go to the 4th. It is 9-0 Saints. You're listening to the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Now batting from UNLV, number 27, Grant Robbins.
Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network. You're rejoining us here in the 4th inning. The Saints lead this one by a score of 9-0 over the SoCal Catch. And we've got Grant Robbins at the plate right now for the Catch. This comes after a big inning for the Saints where they added to their lead. 0-1 the count here to start off the inning. And I mean, we talked about, you know, some insurance runs early in the game. because of how quickly they were able to get started, as this one sent out toward right field in foul territory, and that one is out of play. So you talked about those long strikes. There's another one.
And now the count 0-2. You know, it's been a great effort by Osborne so far here as we're in the 4th inning now. And, you know, when you get to a situation where you're leading by, 9 runs or more, you really want your starter to just get you as many innings as possible. You really don't want to burn through 5, 6, 7 pitchers in a game that, as that was a good pitch there, curveball swing and a miss. You know, for all intents and purposes, this game is already won, so long as you keep the offense for the catch in check. Don't let them rally and chip away to get back into the game. You got a 9-run lead. You got a lot of room to work, so you just want to make sure that it stays that way. So it's a great job by Osborne so far, really not throwing that many pitches, getting through guys, throwing strikes. So, you know, this has been one of the most impressive outings we've seen this season from him, as he was able to make a fantastic spearing play there.
What a play by Reed Osborne to get the out there. Quick out number 2. Really had to reach out for that one to make the play. And now Jacob Namath up to the plate here for the SoCal catch.
No, hold on. I got my
As
phone
it's
right
cooling
there.
down a little bit, it's not seeming as crazy that he's got the long sleeves on, and you see the hood.
It's probably dropped close to 20 degrees already. Since the sun has gone down and the lights have come on a little bit, you really can't see them on your screen yet. But the lights are on here at Jackie Robinson Memorial Field, and it is about 15 to 20 degrees cooler already since we started play.
Oh, good read.
Yeah, the way it seems to go here at most of these games, it's almost unbearably hot for the first few innings, and of course when we're setting things up, and then when we get into the part of the game where the sun starts to go down, it gets into that really comfortable temperature area, as that one headed for second baseman Chavez, and to first in time for out number 3. So the Saints get a quick 1-2-3 inning, keep their 9-0 lead here. We'll go to the bottom of the 4th in a moment. You're listening to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network.
Now batting from San Diego State, number 11, Angelo Armenta.
Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network. We're at the bottom of the 4th inning. Anthony Alejandrez here alongside Chris Diavanzo. And the Saints are up to bat now. Angelo Armenta at the plate to get things started here in the bottom of the 4th inning. See if the Saints can come up with another big inning here. That one low, 1-0. Tyler McKee back on the mound for another inning of work here for the SoCal catch.
Yeah, I would expect to see McKee throw for about as long as he could possibly throw. And especially with only a couple days left in the season, and most of these teams having, a handful of arms that they're going to try to get a little bit of work in throughout the course of the week, I would expect to see McKee probably try to get this game into at least the 6th inning, maybe the 7th inning, if he's effective. He was able to get out of that last inning for the most part, so we'll see what the Saints are able to do. So long as they're able to put some damage on him, then that'll really put the catch in a pressure situation, especially considering that there's another game tomorrow, and you want to be able to at least have some arms ready for tomorrow's game.
Fouls that one off, 2-2 the count now. And worth noting for the Saints, after this home-and-home series with the SoCal catch, they will have one game remaining against the Academy Barons. But for the SoCal catch, these are the final 2 games of the season for them. So today and tomorrow is all that's left for these guys. As that one sent out to right field. He got a really late break on that one. He's not going to be able to track it down. Armenta heading for second, and he is going to be in there with a stand-up double. So another leadoff runner aboard here for the Arroyo Seco Saints. We've seen that multiple times here today, and it's really paid off big for them. We'll see if they can continue to cash in here this inning.
Great swing there by Armenta, being able to pull that ball, fastball out over the plate. He was all over it, drilled it to the wall, and it one-hopped the fence there. So, anytime you're able to get a ball to the fence, that's pretty much 2 bases guaranteed. And, you're up 9-0. You really don't want to push it too much about trying to maybe get 3 out of it, especially with nobody out. So, a nice play by Armenta. He's got a couple of hits today, and as we mentioned, his bat has really started to come alive these last couple of weeks.
Important to note, too, Dalen Miley, we saw him kind of take a couple big steps in when that ball was hit, and that really ultimately is what cost him there. Not certain to say from where I'm sitting whether or not he'd be able to make that play otherwise, as that ball gets away, and now he's going to move up 90 feet, and he's in at third.
This has just been, and I don't mean this in any sort of disrespectful way, but this has just been a rough game altogether where nothing has really gone right for the Catch. And, it's one of those games where you shake your head and go, man, we're only in the 4th inning of this game. We've got 5 more innings to play, and, at this rate you feel like you're going to be down by 50 runs almost, because it seems that at every step, the Saints are either hitting a ball deep to the wall, a wild pitch, an error. You saw it last inning, and I think this perfectly articulated it, where you had a ball that was a wild pitch that got away, and then on the throwback to the pitcher, that got away. Yep. And so now you're faced with a situation where 2 runs come in to score on what is ostensibly a freak play.
And that one sent out to center field. He's running, trying to track that one down. And the runner is going to come home here on the sacrifice fly by Marco Martinez. So the DH doesn't deliver a hit, but he does deliver in a run. So they're in double-digit territory now, are the Saints. 10-0 the score here now. And number 10 coming up to the plate here now, Dalton Ney.
10 runs in 4 innings. Of course, that's a excellent day by any stretch of the imagination. And, we've seen a game, sorry to cut you off there, Anthony, but we've seen a game where, and I remember this early in the season, where the Santa Barbara Foresters jumped out to a 10-0 lead, and it was like the 2nd or 3rd inning of the game. And all of a sudden, the Saints had rallied, and it was 10-7 there by the 6th inning, and ended up, I think, being 11-7 was the final score of that game. And so, we've talked about that all day long, not wanting to let things, not wanting to let the other team get back into play. So it's good for them to add on another run here, 10-0 lead. You just don't want to be able to not get a hit the rest of the way, or really let things sort of slide from this point forward.
Absolutely. Swings and misses, and he is going to be out there, as we saw him kind of take off for first base there for a moment. Nonetheless, there's out number 2, making way now for Gabe Chavez at the bottom of the order.
Number 1, Gabe Chavez.
And we talked about at the beginning of the inning, starting off with that double, really capitalizing on these opportunities, as that one high 1-0. Saints have started off getting the leadoff hitter aboard on multiple occasions in this game thus far, and are able to bring that runner in yet again, as that one's fouled off here, 1-1 the count. So we see our bat boy here sprinting for that one. He would have made it to first,
Well, the way
unlike Gary Sanchez.
I was going to say, the way that today is going, he might even get a hit if he steps into the batter's
Sure.
spot. Although I'm not so sure about that. 1-1.
And to further your point earlier in the game, you were talking about them being on pace for 24 runs. It's happening, Chris.
They're about still on the pace. I think about 20 runs at this point.
Yeah. And that one sent over to short. Going to throw it over to first in plenty of time to get out number 3, but the Saints get another run in this ball game here in the 4th inning, make the game 10-0 over the SoCal Catch. We will be back with the 5th inning after this break. You're listening to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network.
What's that story you want to get to?
Well, let's see. Are you going to be played by Ferguson? Oh, then I'll just bring it up. Oh, no, it's a little easier.
Well, just tell me what it is.
So it's, you know how the Cardinals had a no-hitter game yesterday?
Yeah.
So they had necessarily ended because of this, but it was interrupted by something.
I thought you were going to say they started out. That's what they did yesterday. And the guy, they brought in wasn't taking really good. He's like a good pitcher. I mean, he throws 105 miles an hour. Like, he comes in the game, he gets up the hit right away. And I was thinking, like, okay, I get it when it's April, and you're throwing 100 pitches, and they don't really want to sit people. This is the middle of July. You're going to throw, what's the difference between 125 or 130 pitches and 106? The guy had like 100 something. I don't know what he wanted to start, but I don't think he was like outrageous. That game when they took him out. Why are you? I don't know why people do that now. Like, you put a no-hitter going to the 7th or 8th inning. I mean, I'm eating like cereal.
Welcome back here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network. Thank you for everybody watching us live here on YouTube, and we recommend that you also check out Arroyo Seco Saints on Instagram and follow at Arroyo Seco_base on Twitter for all kinds of updates on our social media. You can find updates about our players, information on players, our coaching staff. Of course, we live tweet the games as well, and it's your #1 source for Arroyo Seco information. If you follow our team at all, know any of our players personally, or are interested in college summer ball and college baseball in general, it is a great resource to be able to follow some of the top up-and-coming talent in the country, and certainly in the state of California. So we're back here in the 5th inning now. It's 10-0, the Saints with the lead here over the SoCal Catch. It's been all Saints all day long. A great effort so far. Even on the mound with Reed Osborne, the starter, still in there here in the 5th inning with a 10-run lead now and a 2-0 count on the way. That pitch is fouled off to the right side. And Anthony, we've talked about this all day long, that pitching with run support, it's a lot easier than when you're throwing in a 1-0 or a 2-1 game when you have it now. And the lead keeps growing and growing, but you mentioned 3 runs, now 5 runs, 10 runs. When you're pitching with a 10-run lead, obviously you're not so worried about making a mistake, because even if you do make a mistake, as that ball is pulled down the third base line and going into left field, that's going to be extra bases, a double there to lead off the inning. But even when you make a mistake, a run or 2 runs or even 3 runs is not really going to hurt you that much.
Absolutely. As we see Dalton A there it looked like had trouble getting a hold of that baseball there. Wouldn't have been able to get the out at second regardless, but nonetheless, good to see it not turn into a situation where they ended up giving up an unnecessary extra base.
So a leadoff double there by Dalen Miley, the right fielder. That'll bring up Ryan Smoot now, the catcher. And we said Smoot came into today's game batting 146. He's been retired retired in his only at-bat so far this game. Up now for the second time today. His first pitch on the way from Osborne is a big curveball, missing inside there for a ball. 1-0 the count.
And, of course, that double comes after what was a tremendous inning by Reed Osborne in the 4th, where he retired the batters 1, 2, and 3, made an incredible out number 2 where he, really had to dive. Not necessarily dive, but really had to reach out for a ball that it didn't look like he was going to be able to get it in his glove and throw it over to first in time for the out.
Yeah, that was a reflex play. A ball stung up the middle, and you just stick your hand out, and it's one of those look what I found kind of plays where the ball all of a sudden it's in your glove, and you think, oh, I got it. Great. Throw on to first base. And Osborne has had, an excellent start all throughout the day so far. Is that curveball over for a strike now, 1-2 the count. And I joked in the second inning, I said, well, his no-hitter is no longer intact. He's given up a couple of hits now, but I said, he might throw a shutout. We got a guy at second base here. Nobody out, but still no runs allowed for Osborne. And Anthony, you were telling me during the commercial break there, or the off-the-air moment where, the no-hitters, and we've seen a few this season in Major League Baseball, and we almost saw a couple earlier this week from the St. Louis Cardinals alone last night, taking a no-hitter into the 8th inning. Today, having a no-hitter disrupted by an interesting little... not something that happened on the field. I'll put it that way, Anthony.
Yeah, so I apologize if I get this name wrong. I believe it's Austin Gomer for the St. Louis Cardinals, making his first start for them, first Major League start, and he went into the 7th inning, I believe it was, without giving up a hit in this one, and the fire alarm went off at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. And so
A little bit of gamesmanship there,
yeah,
perhaps.
sure. So his no-hitter was interrupted, and then when they came back, I believe it was only about a 7-minute interruption, but when they went back to play, then he gave up his first hit. And who else but Joey Votto?
Of course. Well, Votto's going to go to the Hall of Fame, and not just for that hit, but for every hit that he's had over his career. That ball bounced high out there, third base. Shepard looking the runner back on a second, throws on a first in time. So the first man out here now for the SoCal catch.
Hi, boy, Reed.
Nice play there by Colin Shepard. It'll get us back to the top of the order, and Skylar De Los Reyes coming up. De Los Reyes with the man on second base and one out as the SoCal catch. Down 10 runs, it starts by getting one, and you try to chip away, and that's what we've seen from the teams this season whenever they're faced with an extreme deficit. You want to at least get one. You never know what happens. Maybe you get the wheels turning a little bit. There's a lot of baseball left to be played. For Reed Osborne, it's all about keeping them off the board, and he's definitely been doing a great job of that so far today. First pitch on the way from Osborne is in the dirt, bouncing behind Lacayo, and the runner, Darren Miley's going to advance to third base there on the wild pitch. So now the SoCal catch 90 feet away from their first run of the game.
Did you happen to hear the interesting Joey Votto stat? I believe it was last week ESPN discovered this. It was that in his entire baseball career, never popped up to the pitcher, the catcher, or the first baseman.
Yeah, Joey Votto, he's somebody that we talk about in all baseball circles. Anybody who's a fan of the game, and certainly people who are involved in the game, rave about his ability to, make good contact as that pitch is over for a called strike. His ability to work counts. He pretty much can tell you right away if that pitch is going to be outside, inside, up high. And, of course, to hit for power. One of the great players of all time, one of the greatest Canadian baseball players of all time, one of the greatest Cincinnati Reds of all time, which is saying quite a bit when you think about some of the great Cincinnati Red teams throughout the eras. Of course, they're the oldest team in the history of Major League Baseball. They're the first team. Well, maybe not the first team, but they're the first team that was in the National League that is still around today.
Yeah.
And has been around since the 1860s. And whenever you're one of the all-time players for a franchise that has existed for over 150 years, that is saying quite a bit. As the count now 1-2, one out. And the man on third, that ball bounced up high out to shortstop. The run is going to come in to score. Armenta on the first in time. And so the catch with their first run of the day now. It's 10-1 the score. And so, unfortunately, Osborne does lose his shutout here in the fifth inning. As the catch get on the board. 2 out, nobody on now. And the batter, the second baseman, Christian Franklin, coming up to bat. Franklin coming into today's game, batting a .224 average. 0 for 2 in this ball game.
To continue a little bit on this Cincinnati Red stuff, too, every ballpark we visit here in the CCL, in addition to when we're here at home, we like to talk about some of the interesting quirks to these ballparks. You ever see some of the pictures of old Crosley Field where the Cincinnati Reds used to play? It had a really interesting quirk to it that, I'm sure it wasn't the only one at the time, but it would be funny to see a place like this now in the major leagues. So you kind of have the normal scenery in left and right field that you have in the outfield. Center field, though, right behind the wall, was the street. And
it reminded like the Healdsburg Park. Yeah.
Yep,
right in a residential area. 0-2 the count. So that curveball gets away, ball one. One of the things that you love about those old parks is they're all very unique. You think of old Yankee Stadium with the fence 450 feet to dead center field.
Yep.
As you mentioned, of course, Cincinnati with the park in the residential area. Of course, Wrigley Field right there in the neighborhood. And Wrigley Field, they still play, of course, there. The oldest park, or second oldest perhaps. I'm not sure when Fenway was built and which one came first. But, of course, Wrigley Field and Fenway Park, American landmarks at this point.
Yeah.
Been around for over 100 years. And, that's one of the beautiful things about baseball is that this is the same game as they played in 1895.
Sure.
And as things have changed throughout time, of course, one of the things that has remained the same is, it's the bases are still 90 feet. The mound is still 60 feet, 6 inches away. And the fundamentals of the game have not really changed, even though sometimes the way the game is has changed a little bit over the years.
Sure.
2-2 the count. That ball bounced out to second base. Chavez is there, makes the play on the first in time. And so the catch out a run 1 hit, 1 run, no one left, and we'll go to the bottom half of the 5th inning. It is 10-1. The Saints on top of the Catch. We'll be back with the bottom of the 5th here on the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network.
Social media accounts on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. New pitcher for the Catch, number 14, Brandon Davis.
That's 15 runs. That's 15 runs.
Cameron Briggs.
Welcome back here to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network. It is 10-1, the Saints on top of the SoCal Catch. A great offensive performance. The Saints have scored, I believe, in all 4 innings of this game, 10 runs total, and now lead 10-1 going into the bottom half of the 5th inning. A new pitcher in for the SoCal Catch. Anthony, give us a little bit about this guy.
Right-handed pitcher Brandon Davis on the hill now for the SoCal Catch. He's pitched in 8 1/3 innings this season and has had a rough stretch, a 15.12 ERA on the season.
And as I mentioned to you off air, that works out to be about 15 total earned runs in 8 1/3 innings. Almost 9 innings of work in relief for the SoCal Catch this season. And as I said, you're faced with a situation where when you're down by a lot of runs, you want somebody who's able to eat some innings for you. Now in the 5th inning of this game, you wouldn't be surprised if he's able to get some outs if he's going to try to push through the 7th or 8th inning. That ball grounded out to third base. A nice play by the third baseman, Skylar De Los Reyes, on the first in time. And so Briggs is retired for the first time today, now 3 for 4. That'll bring up Colin Shepard, the third baseman, number 4. And Shepard, who has had a lot of success at the plate today as well, with a double in the first inning.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
Just going to say, and Brandon Davis, granted he gets the quick first out, but really being thrown to the wolves here as the top of the order has really dominated so far in the game for the Saints, and that's what we start out with here. As you just mentioned, too, Colin Shepard really having a good game as well.
The whole lineup today has really dominated, 1 through 9. That pitch misses low and away, or low and inside, ball 1. And Shepard, of course, as we mentioned, he's going to be going back to Miami of Ohio next week, probably at the end of this week, maybe going on vacation a little bit. As we talked to Joey Steele earlier today, and that was what he said. He's going to Hawaii at the end of the season. And, it'll be interesting to see because most of these players, that's what they've spent their summer vacation, so to speak. They've spent it out here in Pasadena playing baseball up and down the Southern California coast. And so they'll get a couple of weeks maybe for vacation to be able to do what they want to do before getting back to school and getting back to the grind of every day as a student athlete. As that ball lined into center field there, a base hit by Shepard. Another hit for the top of the order here for the Saints. Shepard on board for the 3rd time today. And Nick Lacayo coming up to the plate.
Number 15, Nick Lacayo.
talked a little bit about the schedule that is remaining for the Saints this season. Feel it's worth mentioning, especially since we've only got a couple of games left. If you want to see the Saints play, you're running out of opportunities, so you really you got to come out to these last two on the road tomorrow against the SoCal Catch. They'll be at Biola University. Nice ballpark to go see a game at. So if you can be there, absolutely give it a go. If you can't, well, watch us on YouTube.
Well, you know what? It actually makes me think of something real quick that I wanted to mention earlier. But, you know, if you can really, I'm not sure you can see it on your screen here, but at the park you see the uniforms of the SoCal Catch, and they have FCA on their jerseys. Biola University, as that ball is flown out into center field on the run, and tracking it down is the center fielder, Robbins. He's there to make the catch, and Shepard on his way back to first base. FCA stands for Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and Biola, one of the numerous Christian universities in the state of California. And I do believe that the SoCal Catch pride themselves as being one of the Christian teams in the league.
Yeah.
We were there on a Sunday afternoon where they had a religious service before the game. Players from both teams and coaches from both teams as well participated, and then after the game they had another service, players giving their testimony, so to speak, and speaking in front of the crowd that were all there to participate.
Yeah.
As that first pitch is in there for a strike. And it, of course, is interesting when you're working with a big group of people like this, and you've got people from all across in different walks of life.
Yeah.
You know, you look for things that sort of keep people in common, or things that you might have in common with people that you might not otherwise share a lot of interest with. And one of the things that a lot of athletes use is faith. And of course, you see it all throughout baseball. People of different walks of life getting together because of whatever they believe. So it's very interesting to see that you have a team that's one of the actual things that really is a part of their fabric and their culture.
Yeah.
Ball and a strike here to Cooper Williams. 2 down here in the 5th inning already. So that pitch misses away. And for the Catch, an opportunity to get out of this 5th inning and not allow a run. It would be the first inning of the game that the Saints haven't put a run up on the board. Williams up at the plate. Williams 1 for 2 with a pair of RBIs and an RBI single last time up in the 3rd. Had a sacrifice fly in the 1st inning. And a 2-1 count on the way. That pitch over for a strike.
And first pitch for tomorrow's game coming up at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time here. At Biola University. So those are commute hours here in Southern California. So get out there a little early and, well, avoid everybody else being in their commutes.
Definitely want to make sure you get out to the park early.
Yeah.
For all of us, we're going to be getting out there probably about 1:30 p.m. That pitch missing away, and you could see that the pitcher there for the Catch thinking that was strike 3. I got to tell you, I thought that might have been strike 3 there too, but it misses away. Full count now, and the runner, Shepard, will be on the move with a full count and 2 down. And, of course, come out to the park on Thursday afternoon, 6:05 p.m. We'll be taking on the Academy Barons, the final game of the season. Full count on the way now, 3-2. Shepard on the move. The pitch is in the dirt. Ball 4. Williams working a walk. I'll keep the inning going. Tristan Peterson now coming up to the plate.
Now batting from New Mexico State.
Yeah, kind of fitting that the Arroyo Seco Saints, they finished this season up against teams that they've really had to battle with this season quite a bit due to their proximity to each other in the standings, as the SoCal Catch currently bringing up the rear right now, 8-22. The Saints, a couple games above them, and just above the Saints is the Academy Barons. So I'm sure it's a point of pride to them to finish this season off strong and try to beat these teams that are surrounding them in the standings.
I'm not sure what the result of the Academy Barons game is today, if they played one today, but coming into play, the Saints were a half game behind Academy for 6th place in the 8-team CCL. And it certainly looks like today's game is going to result in a win. You don't want to speak too soon, but obviously the result right now in our favor. 0-1 the count. So that pitch is fouled back. The Academy Barons 11-22 in league play. The Saints 10-22 entering today's game. And then, of course, overall in the standings, all of these teams pretty much identical records. The Academy Barons are 11-24 overall, not counting all kinds of play, non-league games included. The Saints are 12-24, and the SoCal Catch are 12-23-1. So all the teams right around the same record. 0-2 down at the count. As that curveball misses away, ball 1.
And unfortunately for these 3 teams, they have the misfortune of going into the final week of the season being eliminated already from the playoffs. But battle still going on for that last spot between the Conejo Oaks and the San Luis Obispo Blues.
Well, you've got a very interesting setup here in the CCL where the top 4 teams make the playoffs, one-game playoffs for the semifinal, and then a one-game championship, which will be at the end of this weekend. And you've got 5 teams right now competing for 4 spots, all through Santa Barbara, Healdsburg, Orange County, Conejo, and San Luis Obispo. All 5 of those teams relatively close in the standings right now. Conejo with a half-game lead over San Luis Obispo for the final playoff spot at 16-13 Conejo, 15-13 San Luis Obispo. That ball hit high into the sky. Going back on it is Robbins at the warning track. He'll reach up and make the catch. So the Saints leave 2. We'll go to the top of the 6th inning. We're leading now by a score of 10-1. We'll be joined by an interview subject. One of our interns will come aboard. He's very excited for this interview. We'll be back with the 6th inning here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Henry. Hell yeah. May I? Yeah, do it. Do your deal. Everybody. First couple things. They're like, is there a box room you can use? So you can like, how do you know how you guys are doing earlier in the game?
I don't know if
I just have to kind of shade with you. Is there like a box room where you do that?
I have some too.
Let me get the. I should have. I have the ISO room on my phone. I didn't know that.
Alright.
I told you folks coming in.
Hey Henry, they wanted me to remind you.
Now pitching for
You
the
can't
Saints
swear.
from Columbia.
I know that.
Can't do anything.
31. Tim
I know it.
Post.
I know that. Are you still like playing it?
Yeah.
Okay. He's close.
Hello?
How do we know when you're back on?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that.
LV number 20, Jacob Rogers.
We're back here in Pasadena. The Saints on top of the catch by a score of 10-1. And then, in the 3rd inning and 6th inning, traditionally we have a guest on the broadcast. Usually it is a player from the Arroyo Seco Saints. But today, as we're getting towards the end of the season, we're featuring some new guests, and we're brought along my friend and one of our fellow interns, Henry Rounds. Henry, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks, Chris. We're happy to be here. Very fired up.
Henry, of course, tonight he's going to be working on our game recap, so check out the ArroyoSecoSaints.com. You'll be able to read his article. We've got a few, myself included, writers on who post articles daily following the team. And, of course, Henry, one of the things we've watched all season long, and we've seen some of these developments, and that's really what Summer League is about, watching your players develop. These guys are all very talented, but, always trying to improve. Is there anybody who stands out in particular to you that you think about as one of the stars of this team so far this season?
The biggest improvement I've seen, it has to be with the starting pitching. The Saints haven't been great in that department, but over the past couple months, even the past couple games, you see an improvement. They're better at throwing strikes. They're better at working it out of jams. Like even tonight, you look at starter Reed Osborne, twirls 5, only gives up 1 run. Comes out with 4 shutout innings, and you like that. It puts your team in a good spot to win.
Great effort by Reed tonight. Even if you gave him 2 runs, he would have been leaving tonight with a lead. But, of course, 10 runs on the offensive side. One of the best offensive performances of the year so far for the Saints. It's a shame it's coming this late in the year. You're only with a couple games left so far. You get another game against the SoCal Catch tomorrow. We were just talking about, me and Anthony, talking about the game, 4:30 p.m. tomorrow at Biola. And then, of course, wrapping it up with the Academy Barons on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
And so, we're getting down to the end of the season, and of course, one of the things that we're all looking at right now is what are we going to be doing at the end of the season? Is that pitch swung on and missed? The players going, they're going to be going back to their respective universities and colleges. And Henry, what are you going to be doing at the end of the summer after this season is over?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Recently, I just signed up to write for a startup sports company called Sports Al Dente, and I'll be covering Oregon Ducks football. It's not baseball, but I'm very excited about it. Should be good.
Football season's coming up. It's a perfect time to be getting into that.
Football season is looming.
Is that ball lined out in a center field, down for a base hit and a 1-out single here for the SoCal catch. And we were saying, you don't want to let them chip away. And you mentioned off the air
you do not.
last week, the Saints had a game 12-2. They led, and ultimately the score ended up being 14-14 going into the bottom of the 9th inning. So of course you can't wrap anything up or say, in the 6th inning of the game, this one is over. There's a lot of baseball still to be played.
Yeah, they say there's no clock in baseball, and it's true. And games like that are a vivid example. I was working at that game. I've never seen something like that.
I was not at that game, but I remember I had no idea. I was looking at Twitter, and I saw 12-2 and thinking, this one's done. It's a nice play by Chavez in the hole, diving, throwing on the first, not in time as that ball gets away from Williams.
Oh, dude.
On to second base, and advancing on the error there is number 27.
That boy Post.
Nice play by Timothy Post there, knocking that ball down.
Yeah, you got to have that extra effort to keep plays like that from getting more out of hand. Players backing up their spots. It's hugely important. Like you just saw it yesterday. Gary Sanchez doesn't chase a ball down, run scores. Yanks lose by 1.
We were talking about that earlier, and of course the play up the middle.
Yeah.
The high chopper that would have tied the game if he had ran the ball out and made it out down to first base. But Crenshaw there advancing to second on the throw. So a little bit of a no harm, no foul situation. You get the force out at second base, but a runner ends up getting to second anyway.
It's the same as getting the guy at first, but all in all, you're right. The same result.
Maybe a speed difference. I'm not sure what his speed is compared to the guy who would have been out there anyway.
Yeah, we don't get there 20-80 times, do we?
No, they don't give us any 60 time or nothing. We just sort of we wing it when we see. But he's an outfielder. You figure he's probably pretty quick and athletic.
Got to move around.
So now a pinch hitter coming up as Jacob Nemeth leaves the game, the designated hitter, exiting for number 29. The new batter for the SoCal catch. Henry's going to have it for us in just a second. That pitch missing inside there, ball 2.
Yeah, right here the new batter is Wasey Crenshaw, and
Crenshaw's on at second base there.
Oh, now is he?
Yes.
I see.
Number 29.
Yeah.
2-0 the count. Well, I'll find it. I'll mention it.
We'll get that over here.
The top half of the 6th inning. We don't have a roster in front of us. We got to try and we do this where we try to sound very intelligent on the broadcast. We've got all these numbers in front of us.
We do our best, baseball guys.
It is very difficult, especially because we're on live, that we try to find what we can and deliver it to you as if we know it off the top of our head. Yes. Of course, I know all of these numbers off the top of my head.
And just one thing for the casual fans to check out, as you can see in the advanced analytics age when it comes to matchups, we're looking at a lefty-righty matchup right now. Could be some of the thinking behind the pinch hitter here. You never know. Also late in the season, could be wanting to just get guys action as they want to finish. Everyone wants to have that strong summer finish as they head back to school.
Well, Anthony was talking about that earlier too, about the SoCal catch. One of the things that they like to do, they get a lot of their bench players into the game, and at this point in the game, especially where you're thinking about, okay, you want to get some guys in who maybe have either been struggling or certainly they want to finish the summer strong, as you said. So 2-2 missing outside there, ball 3. And of course, even if you want to maybe get a guy in, just figure try and get everybody in at bat.
That was actually one of the things I was wondering about early in the summer. Is these coaches just get rosters with players and colleges? I was actually wondering what goes in to penciling a roster down for the first couple of weeks of the season before as that first base is now filled.
Mm-hmm. With the walk there. First base open, so it's not so much a problem there where you're just trying to make a pitch. Jacob Nemeth now coming up to the plate. Nemeth, the big designated hitter, number 17.
Yeah, this is even though it's a 9-run game, this is a pretty big at bat because if you get a couple runs here, it can change momentum. Even going down 7 or 6 runs, you just don't want to.
You just don't want to let him chip away.
Yeah, you don't want to let teams back in. That's just one of those.
That pitch missing away there. So, Henry, let me ask you again. How did you get involved with Arroyo Seco? I know you worked for them last season working for the Arroyo Seco Sentinels, which is a little bit different than the Arroyo Seco Saints, but team affiliated with the Saints, and now obviously working this year with the Saints.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Sentinels were a little bit different. But
that ball hit up the middle there for a base hit.
And base hit that scores a run here.
Throw coming home. Lacayo moving up there to make the play, keeping the runner at first base there. So an RBI single by Nemeth, his first hit of the game, and it is now 10-2.
Yeah, anyways, you were asking about how I found the job. I actually found it. It's not a very pretty story. I actually found it on Indeed. I just typed in baseball. I mean, it was.
I'm laughing because that's the same for me. I did the same thing.
Yeah, the Dodgers had just opened up, and I was like, wow, it'd be really cool to have a baseball internship. And then this happened to be 5 minutes from my house. I mean, I applied. I talked to Nick and told him I was a big baseball fan. Knew a lot about the game. I didn't have any writing experience coming in, so I was very grateful for the opportunity. And it was a lot of fun last year. The season didn't go as well as we'd hoped, and it's fair to say it hasn't gone as well as we'd hoped this year. But for both years, it's been a good group of guys to work with. They take good care of us. I was happy to come back. It's definitely.
Well, and are you thinking about coming back perhaps next year, or are you looking to maybe use now 2 years of experience here with the Saints? Are you looking to maybe propel that into furthering your career perhaps in the sports industry? You mentioned you're starting writing for a company coming up in the fall.
Yeah, definitely trying to keep it. I wouldn't want to rule out a third year because, like you said, great organization. But at some point, I'd like to see the career trajectory go into more of the full-time scope. But this is definitely something I'd be interested in doing on the side. Even just it's fun to write about baseball. It's fun to watch baseball. It's fun to
play baseball, as these guys certainly do. And
yeah,
we've been joking around a little bit. Obviously, there's going to be a fun batting practice session coming up here at the end of the season where the interns will get to take part.
Oh yeah, that is more entertaining than you could ever predict.
Henry, what do you think? Are you going to be able to hit one out of here, you think?
Oh, I did. Yes, I did it last year. The first 2 balls were bounced to me. I felt bad because I didn't swing. But yeah, eventually, 3 swings later, I was done. I don't know if I could ever get a ball out of here. Even standing around for a picture day in the outfield, you look back, home plate's a mile away from out there, and you think, yeah, it'd be hard to get one out.
When I say that, I mean that in a joking fashion.
No, you really got to tank it.
Because we've seen it this season even with players on the team, some of them struggling to hit it out of the park. We've only got a handful of Saints who've hit a home run so far this season. Yeah. And, of course, in batting practice, it's a little bit different. There's a number of guys who've hit one out of the park during BP. But still, of course, this is one of the most pitcher-friendly parks in the CCL. 1-2 the count. That pitch misses away.
Yeah, I was going to add that on. Definitely a pitcher park because you look if you're a righty trying to pull a ball, you're stuck pulling it to the deepest part of the park. It's 374 down the line.
But you know who's hit a couple out that way? Dalton Day.
Oh, I knew.
And I know Dalton.
I knew you'd be bringing that up.
Dalton is one of your favorite players on the team. You guys have a good rapport together.
Yeah, definitely my favorite guy. He's cool guy to talk to. You just have that. You catch vibes from people.
Yeah, well, that's one of the great things about the roster construction. Everybody on the team gets along very well.
Yeah,
the interns and the players too. They get along very well with each other, and you got a great group of guys out there. Everybody is definitely, it's going to be sad to see everybody sort of go their own separate way at the end of the season. Once you get to know people, and then of course.
Yeah,
people go and do their own thing. 2-2 swung on and missed.
That's a big strikeout there.
Nice play. We'll be back. Bottom half of the 6th inning. The Saints are leading 10-2. Henry, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Well, if you want, you can do another half inning. Anthony's going to come back and join us here in the bottom half of the inning. If you'd like, you can stick around for another half.
Yeah, I'll stick around.
All right.
I like the other side.
We'll be back with with the bottom of the 6th inning. The Saints on top here, 10-2. We'll be back with more here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Oh, that's a fascinating. Oh my God.
So I'm going to take this half off.
You do it. Yo, you want the play-by-play or the color?
Man, you can do whichever one.
Ooh, do the play-by-play. I love to talk. Let's do it. I just need. Okay, as long as I have this,
yeah,
I'll be set. Okay,
that's
cool.
order, and then I know some of these I've lost track of what they're doing.
I don't care about that as much.
For the most part,
everyone's having a good game.
If I wrote down basically when they got a hit. So if you see like one hit in here, they've got one. Like I can travel.
Yeah.
Now pitching for the catch, number 23, Blake White.
Yo, are there more waters in there?
Oh, hand-free.
What?
I bought some water, but I'll bring more on,
Yeah, I just want to sip if it's thirsty.
I'll bring more on Thursday. Okay?
I really.
I'll bring a whole big water for you guys.
Yo, there's never any in the fridge. It's such a load. Yeah, that's just it. Who's leading off right now? That's going to be, is that Martinez? Okay.
I'll be like your stats guy for I'll be back there.
What's up? Okay, I'll stay.
What's that?
Your country's dang fast. There, man. Also, our mentor's coming up fast. Ooh.
Now batting from San Diego State, number 11, Angelo Armenta.
And welcome back to the Saints radio broadcast here. Henry and Anthony on the call. So right now we head to the bottom of the sixth. Saints hold a hefty 10-2 lead. And shortstop Angelo Armenta is getting ready to lead off. Now coming into this game, not the best hitter, 160 average, but he's been productive tonight. Most of the Saints lineup has. You see they've put up 10 runs. Armenta himself chipped in a sacrifice fly, a couple hits, single double, and we're just about set.
Important to note here, too, new pitcher on the mound for the SoCal Catch. Blake Wichert coming into the game here, right-handed pitcher. He has pitched 15 2/3 on the season thus far.
Yeah, first pitch is fouled back, moved to an 0-1 count. And you see the starter for the Catch, only 2/3 of an inning, has to put the coach in the early hole. You see they've already used a lot of pitchers. Part of that is from obviously 10 runs, but personally, did you expect the starter to have some more leash?
Yeah, I would have expected that, especially since, when you look at this scoreboard now and you see 10-2, it has the implications that it was, tough sledding from the get-go. But, I wouldn't, we had no way to foresee that, that kind of lopsided score happening even with, the first inning, because we see that here in the CCL. It kind of is a game of scoring runs. It kind of I like to kind of say it's kind of like a college basketball game, just because it has that weird scoring run kind of thing that not all baseball leagues really have.
Yeah, and then especially with the Saints, as the pitch from second pitch in the dirt, count moves to 1-1. Especially with the Saints, I was saying, Saints are a streaky offensive team. That ball's chopped over to first and foul. Count moves to 1-2. But yeah, Saints are a streaky offensive team. You see they've started hot in the beginning of the games and they've cooled off. This is probably one of the more consistent games they've played, say.
Yeah, we've seen it throughout this season here where, just kind of speaking to your point, like just a couple weeks ago against the Academy Barons where, they had the offense going strong for the first several innings, and then the final four really weren't getting any guys on base, and they ended up, blowing the lead late in the game. But I think despite, the fact that it does boil down to the bullpen struggling late in the game, at the same time, the offensive production just completely, was dismantled late in that game. They got probably 10 hits in the first 4 innings of that game, and then probably 2 to 3 more over the course of the rest of the game.
Pitches bounce in the dirt, count moves full, and we've seen that a lot. You see, we've seen the offense falter, even against. I think we played the Catch before, and then you see him put up an early 3 and then get shut out over the rest. And then the bullpen. Yeah, so if you don't have the greatest bullpen, it's okay. You just have to be able to supplement that with better offense. And that's ball 4. Good take. Armenta is on base for the 3rd time tonight.
Now batting from USC, number 2.
Yeah, this has been a game for the Saints where everybody's been delivering in multiple ways offensively. We've seen some great hits, but we've also seen some at-bats like that where just, the patience has really paid off, and they've taken lots of walks here.
Yeah, taking your walks is important, as Marco Martinez, USC commit, steps up to the plate. Yeah, I was going to say, taking your walks is important because sometimes, the base hit isn't always an option. Balls in the dirt, you have to know.
Yeah.
You have to have the plate discipline, and that's I feel like that's what sets apart the great hitters from the really great hitters, especially if you can take balls in the dirt find more ways on base. Just helps everyone around you.
Yeah, and to further your point a little bit, you spoke to it a moment ago about the short leash that these SoCal Catch pitchers have had today. It's really surprising just in that, when you're getting beat like this, you do want a guy to come into the game and eat up, multiple innings and, take away some of that strain on the bullpen. But that really hasn't been the case here today, where they continue to go through pitcher after pitcher in this one. Still, in the sixth inning of this ball game, a lot of guys really going to work in this one.
Yeah, and the bigger thing to me, even it's a good point you make, but also keep in mind that the Catch turn around and they play the Saints again tomorrow.
Sure.
So there's no days off. 8-run game. Yeah, you just want guys to chew innings. If they give a few runs, I mean, you have to take your lumps, move on. 3-0 pitch. That's the second walk of the inning. Back to back to start us off. Runners now on first and second with nobody out. And coming up to the plate, we have my favorite guy, Dalton Ney, the left fielder, comes in. He has some power. Home run on the season. Couple missed shots. I mean, we like what he brings to the table.
Yeah, definitely a very good season for Dalton Ney. And you talked about it. These guys got to go back out there and play tomorrow. And for the SoCal Catch, that'll be their final game of the season. So the Saints, ideally, hoping to close this one out and then go to La Mirada tomorrow and get another win and make sure that they don't finish at the bottom of the CCL, as currently the SoCal Catch a couple games behind the Saints, currently on pace to finish at the bottom of the CCL.
Yeah, and the Saints turn it around. Final game is on Thursday for us, taking on the Barons. Taking on the Barons at home. See another mound visit in this game. Umps hovering around. I'm sure he wants to speed things up here. You've all been here a while. Yeah, what do you think they're talking about out there?
Probably talking about what good spots there are to eat in Pasadena after the ball game.
I'm thinking that too.
And if they are talking about that, I want to know. I don't spend a whole lot of time here, but I'm down to go get some good food after this game, and I want to know where the spot is. Where's the spot, Henry?
That will be an interesting conversation. Me, you, and the rattled Catch pitching staff.
Yeah.
Definitely the spot to be. As far, I'm more of a home cooked guy. I mean, luckily my house is 5 minutes away. It's a check swing. Did he go? He did not go, but it does not matter. It's a called strike to start us off here. 0-1's the count. But yeah, especially you want to keep guys loose there.
Yeah.
The game's over. I mean, obviously there's not too much stress at this point. And this pitch is set, and it's bounced in the dirt. Count moves to 1-1. And yeah, especially with the game a couple days ago, Saints have a 12-2 lead, and you don't want to say the game's over because
Sure.
you see it get chipped away.
Yeah, me and Chris talked about this earlier. I think the general rule of thumb for the CCL, just with the way these games are really high scoring, your lead is really half as big as you think it is.
Oh, that's a great rule of thumb.
That was something I kind of thought of just after years, and you can probably speak to this too as a Dodgers fan, playing games at Coors Field where home runs are hit there, nonstop in ball games, and that your lead can go away half as quickly as it does at any other ballpark.
Oh, hang on, Dalton Ney, deep pop out into foul ground. Let me see the Catch third baseman make a sprawling dive and grab for the first out. You have to love the effort there.
Sure.
Games that are reached. I mean, you're playing. You might as well play hard.
Yeah, and apologies to the fans watching this one. Unfortunately, you can't see exactly the play that we saw on the screen.
That's right.
But Henry described it pretty well for you. So just imagine what he just said. It was good stuff.
That was a full somersault. I didn't think it was going to be fair off the bat. I thought it was going to go over.
Yeah.
Over into ops intern territory. You know what I mean? Anyways, that goes to the first out. Gabe Chavez steps in, grounds the first pitch, just foul down the first base line. Runners will move back to first and second. Chavez here slots into the 9 spot here, but over the past few seasons, he's normally the Saints leadoff guy, and you see that. Local kid from San Bernardino.
Yeah.
And a good compact hitter, makes a lot of contact.
Yeah. Made some great defensive plays for the Saints today as well. as he's done throughout his season here. Got to us a little late, being on the quarter system.
Oh, and that is, wow, a leaping snag at short.
Yep, now that's a defensive play you could see there on the screen.
We hope you guys enjoyed it. And just like that, from back-to-back walks, I wouldn't say the pitcher's recovered so much as to say that there's been contact that's been manageable.
Yeah, and the defense has really come up big for them.
Defense is definitely helping them out here, as we see leadoff man Cameron Briggs, the center fielder. He's actually one of the Saints' best hitters tonight. 3 hits, take strike 1. But yeah, 3 hits, a couple RBIs.
Yeah, we were just going to say, we talked about it earlier, early candidate for MVP of this ball game. And, I mean, obviously not so early in the ball game anymore, but in the 6th, still very much, I think, the front runner.
Yeah, he's been consistent. And one of the things I worked at the St. Mary's alumni game, and the alums, I mean, obviously, like the St. Mary's college team, just like lit him up. But one of the things the St. Mary's coach told me after the game that I found interesting was that over a course of a game like this, you face a lot of different arms, and you lots of different slots, lots of different types of pitchers. And for Briggs to keep his success going, he's probably faced 3 different pitchers from over the course of the game. So it speaks to his focus, ability to put the bat on the ball. I mean, he's had a great game.
It's an excellent point, and me and Chris talked about earlier too, just the importance of him being in this leadoff spot today and hitting the way he has. He's really set the table for this offense throughout the game. He did it in the first inning, getting that big hit to start the game off that led to runs being scored. He's knocked in a couple runs in this ball game, so really done a lot for these guys here in this game.
Pitch on the way. It's outside. Count moves to 2-2. Let's keep in mind there's 2 outs, 2 runners on. This is a big at bat. Ideally, you don't want to push the lead back. In the CCL, no lead is safe.
Yep.
We've seen it before.
Yep, it's like playing at Coors Field.
It is. Especially here, like you see, there's an expansive outfield. Balls roll.
Yep.
Pitch is fouled back. Count stays 2-2. See, steps into the box. Gets set to go. And time is called. We step off. And the catcher jogs to the backstop.
Looks like baseball was stuck in the fence.
Baseball on the fence? You don't see it every day.
Yeah.
I was really confused at first. I thought I was going to go talk to their media table.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on? And then expert awareness, I guess.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, we can't see that from our vantage point.
Yep.
Anyways, we're set to go. Pitcher set. The sign's in. Here's the pitch. And it is hacked foul again. Back into the stands.
That one not caught by the fence.
Not caught by the fans. Found a seat. And you see, we'll do it again. Good battle here going on.
To the count here on Cameron Briggs.
Yes, here we are. Briggs is set. Here's the offering. Ooh, dust him off the plate. Count moves full.
Briggs really battling here.
Yeah, it's a great leadoff hitter. Plays up at UC Davis. Let's see. Yeah, it's important to finish the season strong. I was going to tell Chris about that, but you for sure want to have that strong finish. Build momentum. You feel good about your game as you take a couple weeks off before check the swing to go. He went, and that's a strikeout to end the inning.
Interesting.
It's a questionable call. I thought he held up, but the umps thought otherwise, and that'll do it. We head to the top of the 7th with the Saints leading 10-2. This is the Saints Radio Network with your boys, Henry and Anthony.
Dude, I know that pitcher's name. I was really
Now batting from Virginia Military Institute, number 26, Ryan Smoot.
Back here in the top of the 7th inning, the Saints leading now 10-2 the score. Timothy Post back out for his second inning of relief. Christy Avanzo back here on the broadcast, joined by Anthony Alejandrez and our friend Henry Rounds doing a nice job there in the 6th inning. Back here, though, the usual broadcast team.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead there,
Just
Anthony.
going to say big thanks to the boy Henry for joining us there for an inning. I'm sure you had a lot of fun with the first half of the inning, and then I really enjoyed that bottom half of the 6th inning there, having Henry doing play-by-play. A lot of fun.
Well, it's good. One of the things about Summer League that we all love, and we talk about this with the players, is allowing people to do things that they don't normally get to be able to do. It's one of the reasons we bring the pitchers and other players onto the broadcast a lot of the times, too, to be able, get in front of a microphone sometimes and explore some things that you might not normally do in the baseball world. As that ball lined out in the right field for a base hit. Leadoff single there for Ryan Smoot. It's going to bring up the top of the order now, and Skylar De Los Reyes. De Los Reyes, I believe, with a base hit in 3 attempts so far in this game. He's coming up now for the 4th time today. But anyway, as I was going to say, Henry is one of our media interns, and he does a lot of writing and social media coverage on our social media pages as well, on Arroyo Seco, at Arroyo Seco _base on Twitter, and at Arroyo Seco Saints on Instagram. Go and give those a follow if you haven't already. And, of course, on ArroyoSecoSaints.com, where we post articles daily about the season and about the team. Of course, we give you a game recap if you're not able to follow us along here on the live stream, which, obviously if you're watching us right now, you're following us along on the live stream. But if you're a fan of the team and you're not able to follow us in the game, or maybe we don't do a game live that day, you can always find us the day of, or usually at the very least the next day. Zap pitches over for a strike. Next day we'll have an article ready for you describing the game and, of course, quoting our players and fans, and Henry sometimes on the post-game interview as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of great media content here that everybody from the Saints helps deliver.
So, of course, tonight's game started by Reed Osborne, and I just wanted to mention, because Reed is out here watching the game by the media booth. Reed over there as he's waving towards us. Reed is 5 innings pitched.
Grambling State, number 2, Christian Franklin.
He's actually coming to join us at the moment. Reed Osborne now coming on the broadcast. He was sitting right here, and have an opportunity to talk with him. Tonight's starting pitcher, 5 innings pitched. One of the best outings for him so far this season. Reed, what was working so well for you today?
I just tried to locate the fastball today, get ahead of counts, and really just trust my defense today.
Definitely, and obviously working with a huge lead, that certainly allows you some flexibility there to be able to give you, whatever you want to throw. You don't even need to worry if you make a mistake. It's okay because you've got a lot of run support to be able to just kind of go out there and work on your game.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. With a lead like this, always makes a pitcher's job a lot easier. Not much pressure on the pitcher. Just go out there and throw strikes.
And you're very happy, of course, whenever you're able to leave with a huge lead like that. And 5 innings means you're going to probably get the win tonight, which is always a nice thing to have in your.
My first summer league, that's definitely it's a big difference. You're playing back home, a lot better competition, guys from all over the country. Wood bats. You're playing some of the best talent. So that was awesome this year.
You said this was your first summer league season, or is this your first summer league here in California? You mean?
First collegiate summer league.
Okay, so yeah, at the high school level, but now you're going into college, and of course you're going back to school in a couple of weeks. Do you have anything for the next few weeks though before school goes back? Any sort of plans for the summer vacation, or a little break from baseball?
Yeah, just take a break from baseball, get in the weight room, try to put on some good weight, and get ready for the fall.
Yeah, be 20 pounds heavier by the time the fall rolls around. You might have to take some drugs for that. I'm not sure.
In my dreams.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great season, even if the record hasn't been exactly what we want. But from in an individual standpoint, everybody who's come out here has had a very good season and has developed a lot. You see it even just from watching at the beginning of the season. It's kind of amazing to see some of the improvements some guys make over just a 6-week or an 8-week stretch. Yeah. And we were talking about you coming in a lot of times earlier in the season in the bullpen, stretching you out a little bit, and tonight throwing for 5 innings. Is that something that you were really looking for, to be able to sort of extend yourself and move into a starting rotation or look for a starting spot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely talked to the coaches, before the season started, and that was the plan, was to work up in the innings and continue improving stuff, and finally work into a starting role in these last two starts. And so definitely did what we said we were going to do.
And you've looked sharper in the starts than you had in relief. And I don't mean that to say that you weren't pitching well in relief, but I sometimes you see that where pitchers it takes them a little bit to sort of get into a groove, and when you're given the opportunity to throw 4, 5, 6 innings, by the time you get into that 4th inning, your arm is loose. You're throwing good, and we saw that today. You're throwing about 86 to 88 in the 1st inning, and by the 4th, you were throwing up there about 91, 92.
Yeah.
So you see that where your stuff gets better as you go along. And is that something that you were sort of aware of, that as you pitch a little bit more and you get your pitch count goes up a little bit, that your stuff actually does improve over the course of the game?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think I kind of have that starter's mindset. It's kind of bittersweet because, unfortunately, it takes me maybe an inning or two to finally get completely settled in, and for that velo to go back up and my arm loosen up. But I think that's just kind of like the personnel and the mindset that I have, and so definitely a lot more comfortable in the starter role these last 2 times.
So is that something that you're going to look for back at school, is to pitch in a starting spot next season?
Yeah, I think that's always the goal for every pitcher, is just get as many innings as you can.
So we're here now, 10-2 the score. We're here with Reed Osborne, tonight's starting pitcher. 5 innings tonight, 1 run allowed. And I feel like I jinxed you a little bit because in the 5th we mentioned, you had a shutout going there, and you were looking really sharp. And as soon as we said that, of course, the guy from third base came in to score. But obviously, whenever you're only giving up 1 run over a 5-inning period, that's an excellent outing. And so right now we're in a spot where you have an 8-run lead. What's something that when you're pitching with this big of a lead, you don't want to let the other side come back into the game? And right now we've got 2 on, 1 out, and a 3-0 count. So what's something that if you're in a spot like this with an 8-run lead that you're trying to do to make sure that the other team doesn't really get back into the game?
As a pitcher right now, you're up 8, and basically the mindset is just attack, attack, attack. Try to test these hitters, make them beat you with the bat, and trust your defense behind you, because you have such a big league that you don't need to try to be nitpicks and perfect strikes. Just get it in there.
As that was a good pitch there, 3-1, a foul tip. Good fastball, and we get back now to a full count. Good job by Post to battle back here from a 3-0 count. Full count now, 3-2 with 1 down. And Reed, one of the things we've talked about this season about this team is the relationships everybody has, and especially with the pitchers. We see the pitchers all the time joking around. Is that ball pulled out over to second base? And we'll wrap it up on this. You got anybody on the team that you think you're going to be friends with maybe going forward or beyond just this summer?
Oh, yeah, there's a few guys definitely kind of going back to what you said about, losing the shutout. I don't blame it on you. I blame it on Shep, because last night we had a bet, $10, that I can go 5 innings with no runs. And so going that 5th inning, he was kind of, getting on me, like joking around. So
yeah. Well, thank you. We appreciate you coming by, of course, especially when you started tonight's game. But a nice job for you tonight, Reed. It's bottom of the 7th inning. We'll be standing and stretching here. The Saints on top 10-2 on the SoCal Cats. We'll be back with more here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
I didn't even get you on, so I was just going to shout you out because you're over here. But
that's why I come over.
Everybody's welcome to it. At any point they want to come on, anybody's welcome to just hop on. Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah. That's awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was great.
Welcome back to the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network. Although we may not have ever left. Being told that we were on the air, we had hot mics going on there in the top half or the middle part of that inning there. But we're back. You know, people love to hear what we're talking about in the middle of the inning, the mystery of what are we doing in between innings. We're talking a little bit about Reed Osborne, who joined us there in the top half of the inning, was very gracious enough. Told me he came over on purpose to get a shout out and see if he could wiggle his way on the broadcast there, and so we were more than happy to bring him on. But he said, of course, we thought we jinxed him, throwing a shutout into the 5th inning, and he says no. Colin Shepard, the third baseman, made a bet with him that he wasn't going to be able to make it through the 5th inning with a scoreless game.
Wow.
And what ended up happening was he got down to 2 outs, and I think he gave up a base hit to give up that run. And unfortunately for him, I think he's going to be out $10. That's what happens when you make a good start like this. You know, you usually got to pay in one way or another.
Yeah.
So he's facing that literally. Anyway, we're back here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Christopher Diavanzo joined by Anthony Alejandrez in a 10-2 Saints lead. Colin Shepard, the man who's either going to be $10 richer or $10 poorer, depending on how that bet turned out today, with the starting pitcher, Reed Osborne. Taking outside there, ball 3. Shepard up now in a 3-0 count. Lead off here to lead off the bottom of the 7th inning. And Anthony, I've asked you this question twice already, although in this spot I think the answer is no, definitely not. 3-0 count. What are you doing? Swinging away here or taking this pitch?
Well, since our guys haven't been swinging on 3-0 today, well,
there you go. That was right down the middle.
Yeah.
Good take, though. You know, whenever you're in a 3-0 spot like that, you definitely want to work the count a little bit. New pitcher in for the catch. And Anthony, go ahead and give us a little bit about this guy.
Brendan Argo-Manez on the mound, the right-hander for the SoCal Catch. Lost count of how many pitchers the Catch have had in this ball game.
Quite a number of them, to say the least. They've been going pretty much since the first inning when they took the starter out in the first inning of this game, and have pretty much had a new pitcher every inning since.
Yep, and Argo-Manez has pitched 19 in the 3rd innings as he walks Shepard. And he's got a 7.45 ERA on the season.
So Shepard moving on down to first base. As Nick Lacayo, the catcher, coming up now. Lacayo with a couple of hits in today's game. Just trying to find my stats real quick. A couple of hits, I believe, in an RBI single in the 1st inning. And now up here in the 7th inning as well. You got to wonder if he's going to probably, at this point, you think he might finish the game out. Whenever you get to a result like this and you get in the late innings of a game, one where, you know, the result is not really in the balance, you start to wonder if you're going to start to see some guys maybe work their way into the game, get an at-bat or two, or maybe some innings in defensively, and the catcher position is certainly one of those spots. Lacayo, I think breaking his bat there, popping it up in front of the second baseman, falling in front, and it looks like they'll be ruling Lacayo out. That ball dropped in front of the second baseman, but they are going to rule Lacayo out. I believe he caught the ball, and then in the transfer dropped it. I'm not sure what the call was there, but at any rate, Lacayo was ruled out. Shepard stays put at first base. Oh, you know, I think I know what it was. I think it was a pop-up he let fall intentionally in order to turn the double play, and they said, no, that is just a pop-out. Lacayo's out, Shepard will stay put at first base.
Sure.
Because, you know, sometimes players will try to do that, or on a line drive, sometimes you'll see it where line drives hit out the infielder.
Yeah.
They got an opportunity to maybe turn 2 on the play, but it's a ball that they should catch,
yeah,
and they will intentionally let it fall in order to try and turn a double play, and that looks like that was what was going on there.
Yeah.
So Cooper Williams now coming up to the plate. Shepard on at first base, 1 down. And the first pitch on the way is in the dirt, low, ball 1. So, Anthony, you know, we're here in the late innings of the game, and whenever you're up by 10 runs or 8 runs, or, you know, you've got a big lead, when you're on the broadcast, sometimes you struggle about things to talk about. And, you know, we're just talking about what's going on with these players as we get down to the last couple of days of the season. And everybody going back to school and going back to do whatever it is that they're doing. And I've asked some of the players, Joey Steele, what he's going to do. He said he's going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Reed Osborne is going to the weight room. He said he's trying to put on some weight before he gets back to school. What are you going to be doing these next couple of weeks, Anthony?
So I've got I got a month and 3 days right now until I start school back up over at Cal State Dominguez Hills for my senior year. So I'm going to be putting in some more hours at work during that time. I work right across the parking lot over at StubHub Center, home to the LA Galaxy and Los Angeles Chargers.
Across the street from
Center. So I really lucked out. I got a job right there where I can just go between the two throughout the day.
As that is a 4-6-3 double play right going to the top of the 8th. We'll be back with more here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Back to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network. Rejoining us here in the 8th inning, J.D. Russomano taking the mound here for the Saints. You see him warming up just ahead of us. Score is 10-2 in favor of the Saints ahead of the SoCal Catch. Anthony Alejandrez here alongside Chris Devanzo. We've had a lot of people here in the booth today. It's been a lot of fun here, and I'm sure for the people watching the game, it's been nice to hear a lot of different voices throughout the game. I'm sure it's made for a lot of entertainment in addition to the entertainment on the field.
Well, of course, that's one of the things about baseball. There's a lot of people involved. You obviously have your 9 guys on the field, 25 guys or more in the CCL's case, so about on your roster. But there's also a whole team of people that work behind the scenes. You think of just the people that make the field happen. It's a fitting day, especially for today, because we had our team photos today, and you see how many people really are a part of the team. You have your players, and you think of your players as the people that are on the team, but the team is really a lot more than just that. You have your staff, interns, everybody who goes together to make things happen. And so it's good to be able to feature a little bit of everybody today, and that's obviously what we wanted to do. So,
as that one lined into right field for a base hit for Jake Boone, going to be in with a single.
And of course, the result being the way that it is so far right now, I think that this has been one of the best games of the year so far.
Yeah.
And you think back to, well, you wish that they could have played this game every game.
Absolutely.
All season long. But it just goes to show the level of talent that is on this team. And sometimes, there's an old saying, and I'm not really sure who said this, but I know that there's an old saying that goes to say, like, well, you are what your record is. But really, that's not true at all, because there's a lot more that goes into it, especially in baseball, where it is kind of a flukish sport when you're not playing 160 games. That's the great equalizer right there.
Absolutely.
When you're only playing 40 games, things can happen. You can have a really talented team, and you're not always going to be able to get the results that you want. But you look at the roster that has been put together this season, and there are definitely a number of guys that are all very talented. And of course, you got a handful of guys that you expect to be able to move forward in this game and really, do some special things going forward, whether it's at the college level, higher than that, at the professional level, or perhaps, of course, even in the major leagues.
As that ball was popped up to the second baseman for the first out of the inning, runner on first. We do want to extend our apologies to the numerous Saints players and interns who have hit their head today on our tent. It's lowered on one side, and unfortunately, many victims here today.
Myself included. And we have, they always bring the pitchers out here, behind the plate, doing their work, radar gun, keeping track of the pitches and sort of keeping track of the progress of each pitcher as they go through the game. And we should mention that J.D. Rusamano is checked in for the Saints now, number 35 out of Corbin University. But the reason I mentioned that the pitchers come in is because, Charles Peacock, one of the pitchers, has been working out here all day long and has hit his head about 4 or 5 times on the roof up here. I've hit my head on the roof up here. That's the life you live if you're above 5'8", I guess.
Sure.
So, we've got our tent lowered, of course, because of the way the sun was earlier and the heat. We had to just get out of it. I mean, your neck, my neck is going to be burned tomorrow just from the pregame. So
yeah. And tomorrow we will more than likely have an umbrella above us instead of a tent, being on the road over at Biola University.
Yeah, the good folks out there, definitely they take care of the people on the road. And so, you expect a nice day tomorrow. Maybe not on the field because of the temperatures, and you're going to be playing a day game. The game you expected to end at about 7:30 when it's finally starting to get a little cool.
Yeah.
But for us, the intern staff, we'll be sitting in the nice under the umbrella in the shade. So at least there's a comfort to, being on the sidelines, so to speak.
That one low, the count 3-1 now. Runner still over there on first. Rusamano working here in the top of the 8th inning. Here's the pitch. And that one called for a strike. The count full now, 3-2.
That's a pitch catch in the outside corner, and I have to wonder if that is a, hey, we're trying to get this game over with kind of call. That was a pitch that is definitely borderline, but at this point in the game, yeah, you're more than likely to get that call,
Yeah.
Not to insinuate that the umpires aren't, calling everything uptight, but sometimes that pitch is a ball in a tight game.
And that one sent off the wall in center field. Runner moving to third, and runner's going to be in there at second. It looked like might have had the potential to get that out there at second, just not knowing necessarily where the runner was in that situation. But nonetheless, we've got runners on second and third here with one out here in the top of the 8th inning.
And that the ball now, as you see, getting away from the catcher. Not going to advance on that play. Anyway, so we got runners on second and third now with one out. And the new batter, of course, Jacob Nemeth coming up. Nemeth had an RBI his last time up. You think about in a spot like this, and we're talking about this all throughout the day, you don't want to let them chip away, but you have the comfort of knowing that you just got to make your pitch. The worst thing that you could really do in this spot, aside from maybe a 3-run home run, would be a walk. Because then you have a bases loaded situation. You got the next guy coming up. You're facing the number 8 hitter in the order right now. So you have a possibility of being able to get out of this inning before the lineup turns over. So you just want to be able to make a pitch. If you get a ground out or a sacrifice fly and a run scores, it really is no harm, no foul.
And that one ripped down the left field line, well foul. As you called it earlier, a long strike.
Yes, of course. That's the worst thing when you're a hitter. You hit a ball 350 feet. You really actually put a very good swing on it. You're just well out in front of it. And then all of a sudden that ball is in the parking lot. And you can hear I think you can hear that.
Yeah, probably.
The helicopter that is flying overhead there.
Yeah, if you can hear a Stern commercial break, you can hear that.
That is a loud thing. You get to the point in the game where you hear the helicopters. Fans have quieted down, and a number of fans that come to the games, of course, are friends and family of players on the other team as well. And so when it gets down to a point like this, people start to file out or check out of the game mentally a little bit. And so the conversations die down a bit, and you get to a quiet part in the game, and whenever a plane or helicopter, and I'm not sure what the reason is for all of this air traffic all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think it's circling back.
Yeah. Somebody's on the run.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's something going on in the news.
Yeah.
We'll find out later on perhaps, but in the moment, there's just a little bit of ambient noise. Reminds me of the old Shea Stadium,
Yeah.
3 and 2 count.
And that one popped back here behind home plate, near us, in fact.
You know, the way that the broadcast booths are set up here is that on the other side, we're to the left of home plate a little bit. Over on about the same position to the right is the broadcast booth for the away team.
Yeah.
And today, of course, it's the SoCal Catch. And if you're looking at their camera angle, the foul balls, there's been a number of foul balls like that have bounced right in front of their camera.
Yeah.
And, of course, have been towards them if not for the fact that there's a fence.
And that one thrown long over to first base, but they say not in time. So the run will score and everybody will be safe. Runners now on the corners for the SoCal Catch. And the score now is 10-3 in this ballgame.
So an RBI single there for Nemeth. And that was a very close play. A ball was chopped high. Shepard fielding it on the outfield grass and throwing on to first base. And a nice scoop there by Williams to even make a play on that ball. Bang bang play. A lot of times, if it's a bang bang play, especially on a pick, it's tough to tell because the umpire. A lot of times, what they do is that they're listening for the ball to pop in the glove, as that ball is skied out there towards the out of play mark.
So that one ran toward out of play, and it looked like he might have been past that line when he made the catch, but looks like some confusion here on the ruling, and I feel like this is we've seen this earlier in this ball game.
This is a little bit of deja vu. This play, we had a play earlier in the game, although it looks like everybody's going to stay put in this spot. But earlier in the game, a ball racing over to the out-of-play marker, and Williams was able to make the play on it. And to this moment, I'm still not sure what happened because the runner on first base advanced to second base on that foul pop-up. But at this point, Williams was well beyond the foul marker, or beyond the out-of-play marker, and he made the catch, and now the runners are staying put on the corners.
Yeah, and from the look of confusion, I take it that the umpire over at first base might have called him out originally, as that one's fouled back past the seats.
And out of play, of course.
Yep, and one of the interns taking off now, trying to find that baseball.
So now, I was trying to say, I actually lost my train of thought, but of course, that's what happens in a long game, and you're talking for hours on end.
That one fouled back near the SoCal Catch broadcast.
What I was trying to say was that when you have a play at first base, and it's a play in the dirt, the umpire, what they're listening for is the ball hitting the mitt. And a lot of times you're listening for that compared to the sound of the foot hitting the base, and whatever they hear first is how they usually rule if it's an out or because it's tough to be able to see both the ball in the mid of the glove and the foot foot of the runner hitting first base compared to the foot of the first baseman. There's a lot going on, and a lot of times you got to rely on the sound.
As that one sent right over to second baseman for out number 3. So the SoCal Catch do get a run. The score is 10-3, though. The Saints still lead this ball game going into the bottom of the 8th inning. We'll be back in a moment on the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network.
Now batting from New Mexico State, number 8, Tristan
Welcome
Pierce.
back to the Arroyo Seco Broadcast Network. You are watching the Arroyo Seco Saints here at home, taking on the SoCal Catch. Jackie Robinson Field at Brookside Park. Anthony Alejandro is here alongside Chris Diavanzo. We are at the bottom of the 8th inning here. And Tristan Peterson coming up to the plate.
Peterson has been smoking the ball all night long, and it seems to me that he finally got a hold of, one of the things that's really taken over baseball right now is the idea of your launch angle. The way that you make contact with the ball, you want to hit it at such an angle that you're not really hitting it on a line per se, but you're hitting it in an upward trajectory. And Peterson today has really hit the ball, not where he's getting underneath it and hitting high pop-ups or anything, but really just putting a really solid contact on it in a way that he's driving through the ball, hitting it deep. Of course, we saw that ball that he hit to the wall in left center field. He just missed a home run by a couple of feet and he hit it up against the wall. And then he hit another one to right field that was just foul down the right field line. So he's been putting good swings on the ball. I think he hit an out to the warning track in center field. So he's been putting good swings on the ball all day long.
Swings and misses in that one. 1-2 the count now. 10-3 the score here in the 8th inning. Saints in the lead.
And this has been an excellent all-around performance tonight. Offense, defense, pitching, even and actually the defense is sort of the unspoken thing. We don't really, as Peterson swings and misses at that pitch, we don't really talk about defense a whole lot. And part of the reason is because defense is probably the least developed quality out of the big three, so to speak, pitching, defense, and hitting.
Yeah.
The hitting is certainly there. No question about it. We see it every night with 10 runs or more. Then you see the pitching. A lot of times the pitching sometimes struggles, but for the most part, the pitching is pretty solid. And then the defense kind of lags behind. But even tonight, the Saints defense has been all over the place, making great plays. We saw that play earlier in the game. Chavez making a great diving stop on a ball. Shepard in the hole making a great throw. Williams picking balls out of the dirt at first base. And, of course, the outfielders ranging over. Those are not exactly easy plays. And, you mentioned earlier in the broadcast with the sun.
Yeah.
And, a ball hit in a center field, you have to compete with the sun early in the game. And they're just ranging over, making plays look easy. And so, everything that the Saints have really wanted to accomplish tonight, they have been able to. And so it's been just an overall excellent performance. And this is something I think that the team really needed, especially, you want to end on a positive note. And if they're able to do this again tomorrow and Thursday, then, these guys will feel really well about what they did to, overall on the whole season, but especially about the last week.
That was a swing and a miss. Strikeout there for Angelo Armenta. And now Marco Martinez coming to the plate for the Saints here with 2 outs. Score still 10-3 in this ball game. And to further your point a little bit, just about the defense being kind of the unspoken hero of this ball game, you can probably speak to this better than I can, just being that you've been at just about all the games this season. But it really has the feel of one of the most complete games put together by the Saints as a whole. The hitting's there. They've taken walks. You talked about how great the pitching has been today, and the defense has been great.
Exactly. I mean, that's really what I'm trying to say, is that it's been a complete effort in every aspect of the game. And these are the kind of games that when you play baseball, that's exactly what you want. You want to have a game where your offense jumps all over the pitcher, scores 10 runs, gets them out of the inning, the starter out of the game in the first inning. Doesn't let a relief pitcher pitch for more than an inning or two, because it doesn't matter who you bring in the game. Sometimes you see that where you have a lot of success against a starter, he leaves, and then the bullpen shuts you down. But that hasn't really been the case today. For the most part, they've attacked every one of the pitchers. The pitching for the Saints has been excellent, from Osborne to Timothy Post to J.D. Russomano in the 8th inning. And, I said to Joey Steele in the 3rd, I said, we really want to, we'd love to see you pitch in the 9th inning, because we know how dominant you are, and we know, we really want to see you get back to that success. We're not going to need him tonight.
That one called strike 3, so the Saints go down in order here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Score still 10-3 in this ball game. Last chance for the SoCal Catch coming up next. We'll be back in a moment on the Arroyo Seco Saints Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to Pasadena. Ninth inning here, top of the ninth, is the Saints 3 outs away from a win against the SoCal Catch, leading 10-3. Now bringing in Brian McConnell, the sidearm pitcher from Altadena, going to the University of Utah next season. Brian McConnell, we've seen him pitching a lot more these last few games, and of course, Anthony, you've got his numbers out there right in front of you. Tell us a little bit about Brian.
So Brian McConnell has gone 6 2/3 innings on the season for the Saints, a later add for the team this season. But he's got an ERA of 1.35, done a very nice job here.
Of course, and we saw him pitch last week when we did the game almost 2 weeks ago now, on Sunday against the Academy Barons in a loss, but he came in and pitched a couple innings in relief and did a very good job. We've seen him pitching in sort of these situations now where the game is either decided one way or the other. Now pitching with the big 7-run lead here in the ninth inning, an opportunity to close this one out. And he's going to have to do it against the top of the order for the 2, 3, and 4 hitter for the SoCal Catch. And a 7-run lead to work with, so certainly a good opportunity here to get some, this is not a save situation, but an opportunity to close this one out. Be there in the high five line, so to speak, as we get underway here for the ninth inning. McConnell gets set. First pitch is outside for a ball. So, Anthony, as we were talking about in the bottom half of the 8th inning there, about how complete of an effort that this game was on all sides, pitching, defense, and on the offensive side, of course. Now we go in for these final 2 games of the year. What are some things that you'd like to see the Saints take from today's game to be able to do with these last couple of games?
I mean, they set the bar so high today, I just want to say more of the same. There has not been a spot of this game that's left us disappointed today for the Saints. You see those 3 runs they've given up, and that really didn't make for, anything to be concerned about. And I feel like that's something we haven't seen all year long, where, the Saints have given up a few runs and other occasions with a lead, and I think it's left us a little more uneasy of a feeling than it did tonight, where a couple runs were given up, and we weren't left thinking this could all fall apart.
Well, that's one of the things that the pitchers have told us this season, that their philosophy as a team is to be able to give up 4 runs or less. And, usually when you give up 4 runs or less, you're going to win the game. That doesn't happen all the time, but for the most part, especially with the way that the Saints offense has played these last couple of weeks, especially when they give up 3, 4, 5 runs, you're going to be in the game. That pitch misses outside. So a 4-pitch walk to start the inning by McConnell. Not a great start, but as we mentioned, a big lead and an opportunity here, putting the first man on. But, of course, a chance to just be able to get out of this maybe with some minimal damage. New batter coming up here, number 30. As you mentioned before, the Saints, the SoCal Catch sometimes turn the lineup over as we get into the later stages of the game, and it looks like that's what they're trying to get something going right now. Number 30, the new batter for the Catch.
Miguel Abascal.
Abascal now coming in. Abascal looks like in his 28th appearance this season.
Yep.
So he's a player, gets in a lot of action. Had tonight off, now getting an at-bat here in the ninth inning. And, Anthony, sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's a bad thing. As a baseball player, obviously you want to be able to play. But sometimes, you enjoy having your night off and not sweating, not running around. And then, of course, in the ninth inning, coach calls your number, says, hey, you're getting in the game. You're going to go. It's your turn to go get an at-bat. You got to come in cold off the bench. And, every hitter likes to hit. Certainly. I mean, if you had an opportunity to play baseball and just hit, that's what most people would definitely want to do, know. Especially, that's why some guys love playing DH. You think David Ortiz, guys like that who made a career out of just, I get my at-bats, and I'm in the clubhouse for the other 8 innings of the game.
Yeah.
That pitch is over for a strike. You can hear some of the fans out here clapping. They're ready for this one to be a Saints W.
Yeah. Brian McConnell, sorry to interrupt you. Just going to say, as you mentioned, throwing that sidearm style pitch, one of the more fun styles of pitching to watch, I think. And a pitcher just to go kind of to make a little bit of a reference here in the major leagues, a guy that you and I are both very familiar with, current pitcher for the Marlins, former pitcher for the Diamondbacks, Brad Ziegler, a guy who throws that submarine style pitch. Lends itself to a lot of ground ball outs, and it's something that, it's a lot of fun to watch when done well.
Well, it's a change of pace, too. That's the real thing that makes him successful. And, McConnell, we were talking off air a little bit about McConnell. Tonight it looks like has a little bit of life on his fastball. That pitch was over, but just missing for a ball, 2-2. But McConnell comes in about a mid-80s, low to mid-80s fastball and throws some off-speed stuff. And, you know, obviously, especially at this level, there's really nothing wrong with that. But, you know, you love to see the change of speed and the change of pace, different arm angle, and, of course, it gets you off kilter when you're used to facing guys. And at the major league level, this is especially true. You're used to facing pitchers 94, 95, 96, and in comes a guy from the bullpen throwing about 83.
Sure.
You make a lot of weak contact, and, you know, you're not so much a strikeout pitcher, although McConnell in a position here to perhaps get a strikeout with a 3-2 count. We'll see if the runner is going to be on the move, not held at first base. 3-2 on the way. Is pulled, but foul off of the foot. And we'll do it again here with a full count. So the Saints aren't holding him at first base now, but with a full count, not on the move. An interesting decision. You know, you see that a lot of times in a game where, you know, you need it. You're in the ninth inning. You need to score every run possible. You've got no other opportunity except for the one you're faced right now. Down 7 runs, you have to start by getting 1 before you get all 7.
Yeah.
And so you usually see the guy on first base trying to advance on a play like that because they want to be able to at least get in a scoring position where a base hit can score you, and they're going to give you the base because nobody's even holding you. It's not even a stolen base. That's defensive interference or defensive indifference, in that spot. That pitch misses inside, and so a pair of walks. Not a great start for McConnell so far. Pair of walks to open up the 9th inning.
Now batting from UNLV, number 20, Jacob Rogers.
And so Rogers will walk back to the dugout. Jacob Rogers, the schedule hitter, number 20, is walking back to the dugout as Coach Troop, Matthew Troop, going out there to talk with Brian McConnell. As I mentioned, a couple of walks to open up the inning. What would you be telling him in this spot with a couple guys on for first and second now and nobody out in this inning?
Well, I would just, kind of emphasize the importance of just making your pitches and not necessarily, feeling the pressure of the moment. You know what I mean? This game's almost over, and, I mean, obviously, the lead it's fairly comfortable at this point of the ball game. So, I think it's all about just kind of getting in a comfort zone here, not worrying so much about the fact that there are runners on these bases.
Just throw a strike.
Sure.
Just get it over the plate. A couple of walks to open the inning. So far, a couple free runners out there. McConnell looking to get his first man out of the inning, and Jacob Rogers coming up to the plate now. Rogers, the first baseman, number 20. First pitch to him is grounded out to the second baseman. This could be 2. Chavez fields, bobbles, and will have to go to first base for 1. So the Saints will settle for an out there. The runners advancing to second and third. That ball was a slow roller, maybe a chance at a double play there, but it hopped up a little bit on Chavez. He had really no choice but to go to first base on that.
Yeah, you could see Chavez there kind of reach out, with the potential to try and tag that runner out, but obviously, nothing doing there. But at the very least, able to make that play and plenty of time to get the runner out at first.
And a nice job by McConnell, able to throw a good pitch there for a strike and, of course, induce some of that weak contact that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So now Jake Boone coming up, the shortstop, with runners on second and third and 1 out. An opportunity maybe to get a couple of those runners in, maybe chip away at the deficit a little bit. As I said, you need 7 runs if you're the catch. But 2 of them are out there on the bases right now in a 1-0 count. And actually an interesting choice by Rogers to swing at that pitch. Usually, you see a guy come in who struggled a little bit with command. You like to make him work and at the very least take a strike, force him to throw a ball over the plate. Rogers doing that there. Boone doing that there as he takes the pitch over for a called strike. And the count now 1-1. 1 out. Runners on second and third. And McConnell looks over, gets the sign, and is ready to go. 1-1. That ball lined out in the left center field. In comes Briggs. He will not get there as that ball lands for a hit. Throw coming home. Lacayo moving up on it to make sure that ball doesn't get to the back. So an RBI single there for Boone. He will hold it first. First hit of the inning, and that is going to be it for Brian McConnell. Exiting here after allowing a run. 2 more runners on base. That could be charged to him. The Catch with a run now. They're down 6. It's 10-4. And we'll take a look to see who the new pitcher is going to be in just a second. Obviously, you do not want to let this inning get out of hand, and that's what the Saints are going to be looking to stop here. Jackson Bond coming in. We're going to take a quick commercial break, or at least step away for just a second. We don't run ads here on the Arroyo Seco Network. Jackson Bond coming in to finish this one out with runners on the corners and 1 out. We'll be back with the final 2 outs here on the Arroyo Seco Baseball Network.
Now pitching for the Saints from Cal State, LA.
back here in the top half of the ninth inning. The Saints leading now 10-4 as the Cats have added a run and have runners at first and third with one out. The new pitcher for the Saints, Jackson Bond, the left-handed knuckleballer out of Cal State LA, coming into the game with an opportunity to shut this one down, potentially with one pitch. And if that first pitch is a knuckleball, of course, over for a strike. Bond, you know, you haven't really seen him pitch a whole lot in the ninth inning. Anthony, go ahead and give us a little bit of info about his numbers so far this season.
So 9 1/3 innings pitched on the season for Jackson Bond. 8.68 ERA here.
That ball bounced out to short. Armenta on the second for one on the first. That ball scooped not in time. The umpire ruling him safe, and the fans and the coaches, the players, everybody not happy with the call. That ball, another bang-bang play at first base. Williams with a great scoop to keep that ball in front of him, but a run will come in to score. Is that ball nearly a double play, nearly the game ender? Nearly cutting you off there, Anthony. But an opportunity to end the game, falling just short. The Cats will add a run, and it is now 10-5.
Yeah, very close play there. Looked like an out, but nonetheless, the game will continue.
So now the left-hander, Wasey Crenshaw, coming up to bat. A 10-5 game. Robbins moving, and there he goes off to second base. As I said earlier, the defensive indifference now taking effect.
Yeah.
So the runner advances to second base. That is not a stolen base. An opportunity now with the runner in scoring position. 0-1 the count. That ball fouled back. So yeah, Jackson Bond coming in here for the ninth inning, an opportunity to shut this one down. He's somebody who's pitched in the middle innings for the most part this season. Getting an opportunity here with a 5-run lead here now. It was a 6-run lead. That run being charged to Brian McConnell. Came in with a 1.35 ERA. His ERA is going to be inflated a little bit with 2 earned runs allowed today. An 0-2 count on the way. Knuckleball getting past Lacayo and going all the way to the wall. Robbins advancing to third on that now, and so the Saints giving up another 90 feet. The catch with a runner, potentially the runner that would make it a 4-run game now, 90 feet away at third base. You know, actually, you know, you think a little bit as a pass ball, I think is going to be charged to Lacayo. You think sometimes about guys like Tim Wakefield, who had a special catcher to catch their knuckleball.
Sure.
This is an interesting, you know, a few weeks. There isn't anybody who is a specific knuckleball catcher on this team. Everybody's had an opportunity to catch Jackson's pitching this season. And, you know, it's a good skill to develop in case you ever do work in with a pitcher who's another knuckleballer, to be able to, you know, somebody who's a dependable pitcher. That's not always an easy pitch, especially when there's a lot of movement.
Absolutely.
1-2 on the way. I want a fastball missing inside. Count even now 2-2. Saints 1 strike away from a win. Would be their 11th win here in CCL play, their 13th win overall, and would put them in 6th place in the CCL. That liner out in the shallow center field. Over is Armenta making the catch. This ball game is over. Final score, Saints 10, Catch 5. And a great game by the Arroyo Seco Saints, jumping out to a big 10-0 lead early, and then giving up 5 runs in between, but able to hold on in the 9th inning. Anthony, what's your big takeaway from today's game?
Well, we spoke to it a lot in these last couple innings, a complete ball game. What a great job they did hitting, great job they did pitching, and a great job defensively. Really an all-around great game, and just, in my opinion, probably the best all-around game we've seen by the Saints this season.
So we go into these final 2 games of the season now. Wednesday against the same SoCal Catch on the road, and then Thursday against the Academy Barons at home. What would you like to see beyond, of course, the result and a continuation of today's game? Something that you'd like to see the Saints do to be able to close the season out strong?
Well, there's only 2 games left, as you said. I want to see them win them both. I think that'd be a great way to end the season, especially as we talked about earlier, against 2 teams that they've seen a lot this season and that they've, you know, they got very similar records. And this win obviously does a little bit of help to them as far as, you know, moving a little bit ahead of the SoCal Catch in the standings, moving, you know, distancing themselves a bit. And now maybe with a chance to maybe try to steal that 6th spot from the Academy Barons, depending on how these next couple days go.
Well, with that win, they clinch at the very least 7th place, meaning that they will not be finishing this year in the cellar. That will unfortunately fall to the SoCal Catch as they fall at 8-23 in league play, 12-24 overall. The Arroyo Seco Saints improved to 13-24 overall. Of course, the record for the standings is your CCL record. They're 11-22 in CCL play, and now tied with the Academy Barons.
Yeah.
And I believe the Barons did lose, so that means they are now in 6th place. The Arroyo Seco Saints. So for Anthony Alejandrez, I am Christopher Diavanzo. Thank you again for joining us. We'll be back again, of course, on Thursday. Check in to see if we'll be on live tomorrow as well. If not, you can follow us, of course, on Twitter at Arroyo Seco_base, on Instagram at Arroyo Seco Saints. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. And, of course, thank you, as always, for watching. We'll be back again on Thursday. The final score tonight, Saints 10, Catch 5.